Alright, hello my good friends. Welcome back to another episode of reviewing the Spicy Cube. Uh, I'm really excited about this. This may sound really weird, but for the last 3 days, because I had to go to work, I was really, I couldn't stop thinking about doing this next stream. I guess I was more excited about going over my cube and showing it off to people that are genuinely interested in cube than I thought I was originally going to be, because um, I don't know. It's when it comes to my card collection, a lot of the time I get really excited about it for myself, but I always think to myself, I'm like, well, just because I love it doesn't mean like everybody else loves it, you know. But um, so I've always kind of been really not sure about whether or not before I did the first stream. Obviously, I was really unsure about whether or not I really wanted to go over my cube and show off all my cards and stuff like that. But after the first stream, I really enjoyed it, and I felt like pretty much everybody that was in the stream at the time also really enjoyed it. So, which was really cool. I actually didn't even expect it to be as enjoyed as it actually was. So here we are again to do another one. Tomorrow I'm hoping that I can do another stream. Like I said, I'm trying to do a stream every day on my days off. And hey, Wrath of Wood, thank you for jumping in. Good to see you. Um, I am trying to do more streams, and I want to try and do a stream every day that I have off. However, for all of everybody, obviously I'm not going to be streaming on Thursday. I'm sorry. It's Thanksgiving. I promised to spend it with my family, and this is actually the first Thanksgiving in years that I have had off from work. And it wasn't that I requested to have my Thanksgiving off from work. My schedule just so happened to line up with my day off being on Thanksgiving. So, which was really kind of cool. So I decided to take that day off and, well, I mean, obviously I had it off from work, but I'm going to spend it with my family, so I will not be spending Thanksgiving with you guys, sadly. But I will be trying to stream. Obviously, I'm streaming here today, and I'm going to try and stream hopefully tomorrow and the day after that. And I'm kind of hoping that we can get back into Soma. But I really wanted to jump back into this cube. I had a lot of fun the last time we did it, so we're gonna jump into that. I'm also waiting for my good friend Bo Falcon to hop into the stream because I got mail from him. I think that maybe I shouldn't be... I got mail. Like, trust me, I can't really show off the addresses, but I did get mail from Bo Falcon, and I'm super excited to open it. But we're going to wait a bit. What I'm planning on doing is we're going to go through some cards first. We're going to talk a bit more about the cube. I'm going to hope that Bo Falcon is free to jump in and hang out with us for a little bit. And once I know for sure he's in here and a little bit of time has passed, we'll open the mail he sent me and we'll figure out what it is, because I'm really excited about that. It's my first ever fan mail from anybody, and I'm pretty excited. It feels good. It feels good to get fan mail. So, for if you guys don't remember, last time we were here, we did the colors white and blue. So we're going to move on to black now. And there's some cool stuff in black. I'm really excited about this. And there was also something that I wanted to go over about the cube, too, that I realized I didn't discuss last time. And I kind of wanted to go into it pretty heavily, is... you might have noticed this stream is labeled as talking about balancing color costs. That is actually a weirdly interesting thing that I had to learn about the hard way for my cube. You'll notice that, I'll go ahead and show off some cards here right away. So you'll notice that, I have, a singular black card and, a double black card here. And you'll notice, see, once again, here's another double black. The mana symbols and their color, the color requirements, are actually extremely important to the cube. And I actually, like I said, I had to learn that the hard way, because I used to have cards in my cube that were like triple black and quadruple, like, cards with a requirement of like 3 black mana symbols or 4 black mana symbols and stuff like that. And what was really interesting is that cube, like that version of the cube, and this was a long time ago before I balanced it out, um, that was an utter and complete failure. Uh, Having heavy color requirement costs up to like 3 of a singular color is really not good for a cube. It makes it really hard to be able to play the cards. And when I used to have it that way, I found like myself as well as my best friend, we never got to play those cards. Never. And it was really rare to be able to play them. And a lot of the time it would feel bad because we would spend lots of time trying to fix the mana to get those triple cost, like those triple color requirements. And they would come out and we'd feel good for a second, and then they would get doombladed or, whatever. It didn't feel good because it was a lot of hard work to get those cards out in the first place, even if they would either take a lot of work and a lot of effort to get out, or you would hold on to them for the entire game. And it was not a good feeling. Like, they were always dead cards. And that's when I kind of learned that, and I don't know if it's different for other people. I mean, it's totally possible that somebody could purposely design a cube to be able to host those, triple colors and things like that. Yeah, triple mana is rough. Even in a real live draft, like when you're doing a real live draft, drafting something that has like 3 mana symbols of the same color is really hard to do, and you really have to dedicate yourself to it, and it's rough. Here's the thing too, is that this cube is also very, very good at mana fixing. There are, like I showed you in the last episode, that I have those basic land cycler cards, and I have one for every color except green, because the green one is so bad that I didn't even want to include it, but I have one for white, blue, black, and red. Those cards are great. There are tons of like different ways to mana fix in this cube, like the artifacts mana fix, the lands mana fix, the even individual cards in each color mana fix. But even with all that mana fixing and that, the ability to make it so that you have access to lots of different colors, still the triple and higher color requirements fall flat. Like, they're awful. And it made me really sad because I had to take out a bunch of really, really cool cards. Like, obviously I couldn't play with, like I had an Elder Scale Worm. That's a triple green. That guy had to come out. He was unplayable. I have an Angel of Serenity. That's a triple white. That had to come out. Like, nobody could play with it. And there were just lots of cards like that. And it sucks, but for the ability for everybody to have as much fun as possible, you have to take away the stress of cards like that, because it's not fun. It really isn't. So there are no triple required color cost cards in this cube. There's none. No triple blacks, no triple whites, no triple blues, no triple reds, and anything above that, obviously, you can't have. Like, they're just, they're awful. You can't play with them. However, what's really interesting is that when it comes to the gold cards, now, you're never going to see any gold cards that have triple colors, like, triple black or whatever. But there are some cubes that have, there are some gold cards that have double color requirements. And, like, for example, you'll see some, like, double blue and a red. There's a really hardcore one that's double white and double green. But the thing is that even though that sounds really scary and intimidating, they still work. It's something about the number 2 that works really well. And I think it's just the overall balance of how a mana base comes together is that when you get into that 3 range, you're gonna struggle. You're really, really gonna struggle. But when you have like a card that requires double white and double green simultaneously on a single card, it's much easier to manipulate. You know, because a lot of the time people are playing like 3 colors, like they're playing red, black, green, or blue, white, green, or blue, black, green, or red, black, blue. Anything like that. And so even in those, with decks that are running 3 colors simultaneously, and there's all this mana fixing, the double green with the double white, or the double blue with a singular red, or whatever, those actually work really well. They really do, and the mana base usually that you build up accommodates to it really well. But it's when you get into those triples, it gets rough. So I generally think that that's a pretty important thing to go over for people who are just starting to be interested in Cube, is that it's a really I learned about how rough that was I used to have triple stuff, like triple greens and stuff, but when we played with it, me and my friends, I'm really lucky to be able to play my Cube often enough to be able to constantly balance it. I basically, normally what happens is me and my friends will play it, and then I go, immediately the next day, I start rebalancing it. I figure out what's wrong with it. So it took some time of playing with the triple costed cards before I was able to actually realize that they're basically unplayable. So, I mean, I think that should be something that people should think about when they're building a cube. Don't just throw in, triple blues and triple blacks and stuff like that. Definitely, think about them a little more carefully. Try to see if your cube can justify it. But a lot of the time I feel like it's too much. Now, if you're playing something because my cube requires actual playing of lands, and it does function as constructed decks, which is why it gets so hard to play those triples. But if you're playing something like Perp's Perp Cube, like Mike Hatcher's Perp Cube, his cube is designed to handle stuff like that. So, I mean, you could just literally, if you want to play with triples, you can accommodate your format. You don't have to accommodate the cube necessarily, but you can accommodate the overall format of your cube to be able to work with that. Because, the Perp Cube, like Mike Hatcher's talked about before, accommodates any color cost. His particular playstyle for his cube makes it so that you can play any card at basically any time, with the only thing slowing you down is obviously the number and the cost, and not necessarily the color requirement. However, this cube depends on color requirements, so triples are a no-go. And I really wanted to go over that. That was something that I was thinking about over the last few days when I was getting ready, preparing to, want to do this again and show you guys cards. I felt like that was a really important balancing thing to go over. So let's actually look at some of these cards. I've kind of talked your guys' ears off about that, but it was kind of a big deal, and like I said, it was a hard-learned lesson. I have Eldrazi's and lots of hybrid in my draft cube. Well, hybrids are really interesting because they can be one color or another. So, for example, if you had a hybrid blue-red creature that's 3 hybrid mana of blue and red, it could be 2 blue and 1 red, or it could be 2 red and 1 blue, or it could be 3 blue, or it could be 3 red. The hybrid cards are more accommodating to that stuff. They're more accommodating to color requirements, which makes them really efficient. Because when you run into an issue of oh god, I don't have 3 blue, it's not a big deal when you're dealing with hybrids, because it doesn't need to be 3 blue. It can be 2 red and 1 blue, or 2 blue and 1 red, So hybrids are really cool. I personally, I made a design choice for this cube to not use hybrid cards. And that was really rough when I was first really designing this cube, but I wanted a particular play style out of it, and I couldn't make the hybrid cards work without taking away from the other categories. Like, because I have all my cards categorized, 50 white, 50 blue, 50 black, 50 red, 50 green, 50 colorless, 60 gold, 60 lands. And, like, no matter what I tried to do when I was building it, I could not fit a the hybrid cards without negating from the overall balance of the other sets of 50 and 60. That's not to say that nobody else could do it, but it just didn't work for me and it didn't work for my cube, so I decided to just kick out hybrids and not use them. But I'm not going to slam hybrids at all because they're great cards. They're very flexible, and if you find a way to like fit them into your own personal cube, do so because they are very efficient. Like if I really, the thing is that like if I really wanted to try, I could take out like all my gold cards and try to fit in as many hybrids as possible. But that issue became that 60 gold cards. I don't have 60 hybrid cards worthy of being in the cube. I have like maybe 10 hybrid cards that could really work. But the thing is, too, is that at that point, you would have to negate from one of the other piles, and you wouldn't even see them that often. I wanted it to be really easy to draft Titans for everyone. The Titans, like, I assume, like, you mean, like, like the red Titan, the white Titan, the blue Titan. The Titans are all double colored, right? Unless you're talking about the hybrid Titans. Are there hybrid Titans? I think there are. Like, isn't there one called, like, Titan of Calamity, and it's, like, a hybrid red and green Titan or something like that? And they're all from Lorwyn. I can't really remember exactly. But when I think of Titans, I normally think of, like, the crazy fucking Titans, like Sun Titan, which I have in my cube. But that's normally what I go to when I think of Titans. But the Titans you can play with, like, in this cube. Like, I only own one actual Titan, which is Sun Titan. But it's playable in the cube. Like, it's not that tough to run it. So let's actually get into these cards. I keep talking about all this stuff. So first one I'm going to show off this is Kendrick Parasite. This card is actually a little funky to play with. It's like, so first of all, the thing that makes this card amazing is that it's a Underworld Dreams on a beat stick for 1 mana. And it does have a requirement that you need to have a red permanent. By the way, in case you already don't know, a mountain does not count as a red permanent. Mountain is a mountain. But this card, like, if you can get it out with a red permanent alongside of it, it's super efficient. I can't say that I have seen this card do an extraordinary amount. Usually it dies pretty quick. But for the short amount of time that it is on the battlefield, this card is extremely efficient, and it can be very intimidating. Because, like I said, it's basically a 1-mana Underworld Dreams. Very strong. Next one is Bloodghast. I adore Bloodghast. This is an original Zendikar print. I actually own 2 Bloodghasts total. I own a Zendikar one, and I own one from Iconic Masters. I remember, like, the thing is that back when Zendikar was in Standard, Nekusar. Yep, I remember Nekusar. Nekusar was popular back when I used to play Commander. He's gnarly. Yeah, but Bloodghast, I actually have some interesting memories, especially with specifically this particular Bloodghast, because this one I cracked myself in a pack. And I remember when Bloodghast, this guy right here, was first spoiled for Zendikar, and I thought it was like the most amazing card in the whole damn set. I wanted one so bad, so when I actually cracked it, I was so ecstatic about it. And he didn't disappoint. This guy right here is so nasty. I've seen this guy kill people. I've seen this guy used in combo engines. Like, he's bonkers, and he never goes away. I would say he's probably one of the most efficient self-reanimating cards in forever. Um, Kind of having some focusing trouble, but he's ridiculous. And a lot of the time, you don't get the haste off that often, but when you do, it feels absolutely spectacular. But just having him out and being able to reanimate him as much as you possibly can feels great, especially when you're breaking him, as like for any kind of reanimating combo engine, like a combo engine where you need to sack and reanimate over and over again. This guy is ridiculous. I love this guy. And this particular copy has been in a lot of different decks. It's been in commander decks that I've pulled it in and out of a few different times. It's been in actual, like, I used to have him in a modern reanimation deck that I used to play. He's crazy. He's crazy good. And I have a lot of memories tied to him. I've, beaten friends over the face with him, used him for crazy broken reanimating combos. Like, he's great. I love him. This is a foil Doomblade. This is one I cracked in Iconic Masters. I have a lot of Doomblades, but this one's a foil one, so obviously it made it into the cube over the others, because this is the only foil Doomblade I have. This is Chippy. For the artist is a Chippy piece, and Chippy's my favorite artist. I've talked about him a few different times. This is an iconic Chippy piece. Like, a lot of people know this art very well. So, and that's awesome, because I think that Chippy deserves a lot of credit for a lot of the art he does, and this is pretty spectacular. I mean, it's an interesting piece of art attached to an extremely powerful card, and you do need this as your basic removal for balancing your cube. Obviously, like, you need it. You need it. Neph Rocks, Overlord of Grixis. So I actually opened a box of M13. I think I actually still have the old M13 case. I opened that Sublime Archangel that I showed off in white, and I also opened up this Neph Rocks, Overlord of Grixis. And this guy's pretty badass. He's a 6-mana 5/5 that can, like, fly, and he can attack like he's a 6/5. So, like, he costs 6, and even though he is a 5/5, he can attack for 6. It's pretty nice. He also is Exalted, which is what makes him into a 6/5, but you can also give that Exalted bonus to other creatures. I love the Exalted mechanic. I've always been a pretty big fan of it. I have some pretty crazy Exalted cards. Like, one of my favorite cards that is sadly not in my cube because it's too expensive in the sense that it has too much color requirements, is I have a card called Finest Hour, which gives you a second combat step as long as you only attack with one creature on your first combat step. So you'll also find when we get into the gold cards, because I was talking about balancing through color costs, you'll also find that there are pretty much no triple colored cards. Like, you'll never see a green, white, and blue card. You'll never see a red, green, and black card. All the costs are on double color requirements only. So red, white, green, white, blue, black, green, black, things like that. You'll never see, like, 3 colored cards in the deck. And that's another thing that I should have mentioned when I was talking about the color cost requirements for, like, doing, like, triple colored cards when they're, triple blacks, triple blues. That is also true for like 3 colored cards. 3 colored cards are also relatively hard to play with, because even though the decks frequently come out as being 3 different colors when we play this cube, playing cards that actually require 3 different colors get very, very messy very quick, and it really restricts the ability of people to play what they want to play, and they turned out to not be fun. So there are no 3 colored cards in the gold cards. I can't believe I forgot to bring that up, because that's also pretty important for the balancing. Anyways, Neph Rocks, this guy's crazy because also when he attacks, he forces people to sacrifice creatures, which is super nice. Come on, focus. Come on. Give me a lot of trouble here. Normally it would have focused by now. This is really weird. It was doing fine before. Maybe if I kind of zoom it out. There it is. When Neph Rocks Overlord Grixis attacks alone, defending players sacrifices a creature. So this guy's pretty nice. He's in his own way a special kind of removal. Sacrificing is good removal, which is proof positive by the next card I'm going to show you, which is Bag Marauder. I love this card. I actually, a long time ago, I used to have a play set of these guys from the original set, and I gave them all away. I've talked about it multiple times that I give decks away. Usually what happens is, because me and my friends, we all buy our cards together, and then we build really cool decks, and, a lot of the time, I get all the, when I used to play with my friends in the past, they would buy cards, and I would buy cards, and then they would make me hold on to all the cards. And they would basically tell me, oh yeah, these cards are yours, keep them, hold on to them. But, the thing is that, I didn't like feeling that way all the time, in the sense of, it just felt like they were giving me free stuff all the time. So, I would frequently, have them come over, and they would build crazy decks, and I would build crazy decks, and we would, I would give them to them, you know? So I remember, one of my friends was super into zombies, and we cracked open, 4 of these Bag Marauders from the original set, 4 or more, and I let him keep all of them for his zombie deck that he loves so much. But I love this card. It's actually very strong. So, one of the things that makes Bag Marauder so awesome is 9 times out of 10 when I play this guy, he never survives. I literally, what I do is I pay 3 to put him on the field, and then I immediately sacrifice him to himself. But what's nice is that he acts like removal, which is wonderful. I've had multiple times where I would cast, a form of removal, like a Doomblade, to kill, one particular card, and then I would, immediately cast a Bag Marauder right afterwards to, make him sack the other piece that I want him to destroy. And what's really cool is that, oh, Bag Marauder, you can't depend on him because the opponent gets to choose what he wants to sacrifice. If you're doing it right, you're always going to be able to hit what you want to kill with Bag Marauder. I've killed, I've killed untargetable creatures with this guy before. If your opponent has, a creature with Shroud or something, you can, use removal to get rid of one creature that he would sacrifice to the Marauder. And then you cast the Bag Marauder to hit the card that you can't target. He's so good. There's only been, maybe a couple of times where he actually survives and gets to, do nasty things to the opponent. But most of the time, I cast him like a sorcery rather than a creature. And he's wonderful as a sorcery. So definitely play with this guy. He's great. I like this card a lot. I wish I had, an original from the Alara set, and I wish I had him as a foil. This is a card that I've always really wanted in foil. But I'm fine with him as he is. I don't have to worry about, acquiring one because I have him in there, so. This is a pretty famous card. This is Grim Tudor. This card is considered very hard to acquire. It's from, I think this is Starter 99, I think. This card is very rare, and it's very, very strong. This is probably one of the most powerful Tudor cards I think I've ever seen in my entire life. It's very strong. There are tutors in this cube. For people who play cubes, if Mike Hatcher's cube is he doesn't allow tutors. This cube allows tutors because you do actually own a deck that you're playing with, and so you can search in your deck for what you need. So this is one of the strongest tutors in the entire cube, and it's definitely worth being in here. It's very, very strong. If you play with tutors, I don't know how expensive this card is, but I think it's considered to be very rare, and so it's very hard to acquire, but you could probably get a proxy of it or something like that. I haven't checked the price on this card, and I don't really care to. But it's very good, very powerful. Definitely play with it. This is my favorite of all the dark rituals. This is my Urza's. I think that's Urza's Saga dark ritual. This is out of all the dark rituals ever printed. This is my favorite printing of it. For anybody who doesn't know about me, I love Phyrexia. I think they are the greatest villains ever created in Magic the Gathering. So, and you'll notice I do actually have a large amount of Phyrexian cards in my cube. But this is like my favorite dark ritual. It's everything about it is fantastic. This is the Phyrexian altar that they sacrifice creatures on. And you'll see that the art for the most recent reprint of Phyrexian altar has this art. It has art that is relative to this particular altar in this dark ritual. Also, if you've ever seen the Dominaria card or Phyrexian Scriptures, same altar. So in my opinion, this altar, which was originally like the altar that we see referenced in all these cards I'm mentioning, was originally designed in this artwork. I would actually say that this particular altar in this artwork is iconic. It's like the iconic, nasty Phyrexian altar. And they keep referencing it in tons of stuff, which is really cool. And this card, is, like, because I mentioned it's iconic, this card's iconic in a whole bunch of different ways, not just with the art. The flavor text on here, too, is also very iconic. From Void, evolved Phyrexia, great Yawgmoth, father of machines, saw its perfection, thus the grand evolution began, the Phyrexian Scriptures. So, in the card of Dominaria, I actually do have a Phyrexian Scriptures in my cube, and I will show it to you. If you look at the card, the artwork for Phyrexian Scriptures, you'll see the Phyrexian language going down the Phyrexian altar, and the thing is, it's really cool. This is how cool Phyrexia is. Phyrexia is so cool and deep in lore. They have their own language. And if I remember correctly, the Phyrexian language was developed by a magic artist. I can't remember who it was, but one specific magic artist went really deep with Phyrexian lore, and he wrote out his own he invented the Phyrexian language just so that he could start putting it in art, and then all the artists who started painting and doing Phyrexian stuff also basically started copying his language that he developed for the lore and putting it in the art. Like, for example, my favorite artist, Chippy, he is a hardcore dedicated Phyrexian artist, and he actually uses the Phyrexian language in tons and tons of his Phyrexian art pieces. It's amazing. So if you look at the Phyrexian Scriptures card, you'll see that the Phyrexian language going down the altar, actually, if you were to translate it, says this exact flavor text. It's literally the same exact flavor text, but recorded in the Phyrexian language, which is awesome because, like, the Phyrexian altar in the Scriptures, which is a direct reference to this very specific art, also has the language written on the side that is also referencing the flavor text of this card. So it's just, I love it. It's like I said, the Phyrexian lore is my favorite. It's the best. Phyrexian is just, like, hands down the most evil, nastiest, like, thing in all of Magic lore, and it's my favorite. I love everything about it. Oh, Richard Lash, I didn't see you. Welcome to the stream, dude. I got so deep into talking about Phyrexian flavor that I didn't notice you walked in. I'm glad to have you here. Thanks for joining us, man. This is my dark ritual. I'm very proud of it. That's overall what this is. But I got to kind of take a side note and talk about why I love this card so much, because I do. I adore this card. It's literally the spawning of some of the greatest lore in all of Phyrexia. We're going to move on to the next card. I'm still waiting for... I'm hoping Beau Falcon will show up soon. I really want him to be in here. Because I got a package from him, and I really want to show it off to him. So I hope he's here. So this is Fiend of the Shadows. It's a foil, by the way. I don't know if you guys... There it is. It's kind of rainbowy a little bit in the light there. You can kind of see it. Fiend of the Shadows, foil. The Elesh Norn altered text is really sweet. Yeah, oh my god, Wrath of Wood. I remember when I first saw that, and I was like, oh my god, all my want. I want this Elesh Norn so much. Elesh Norn is my favorite of all the Praetors. And that foil Elesh Norn with the Phyrexian language is just, it's, ugh. Oh, I want it so bad, but I think it's like $200 for that one card, and I'm like, there's no way I can afford like a $200 Elesh Norn. It's just not gonna happen. But I do love it. I love knowing that it exists. Anyways, if you guys are curious, actually, let me show something real quick. Just, I think you guys might have seen this before, because I have shown it off in the past, but let me just kind of show this as... This is a card that I painted, and I adore it. For anybody who's not seen this before, this is an altered Yog Mossville, and it has the Phyrexian language in it. And it says Yog Mossville, and that says sorcery. And then this is actually, it was very hard to do, but this is actually all Phyrexian text. Translated to basically say all of the text that a Yog Mossville would have. So, just thought I'd kind of show that off to you real quick. This is proof positive, like I'm a hardcore Phyrexian fanboy. I love Phyrexian. Hey Helex, good to see you, man. Thanks for joining. I don't know if I said that already, but I don't think I did, but thank you for coming in and hanging out. I'm kind of like looking up every once in a while to see what you guys are saying. So I'm sorry if I don't say hi to you guys immediately. Anyways, moving on. Fiend of the Shadows. So this card it's very weird because I've actually, I don't know how I feel about this card at any given time. I've played with it in a lot of different decks, and it's been in, it's been in a vampire deck. It's been in a a commander deck. And it's in the cube, and I don't know how I feel about it. Like, it never feels like I need to take it out, because it's powerful. Like, it's a 5-mana 3/3 flyer. It can exile cards, and it can regenerate, possibly. Like, I feel like its regeneration doesn't really ever get to go off very often. But, I mean, it's strong for what it does. It's an evasive 3/3, and it exiles cards. So, I mean, and you get to play those cards if they're exiled, but a lot of the time it'll just exile cards, and you don't really get to play them that often. But, I don't know, like, I've taken her out before. Like, I've put her in the cube, and then I've taken her out of the cube, and then I've put her back in the cube, and this card has been in and out of this cube a couple of times. But I always feel like she keeps coming back, and she's always meh, like, you know? So, I don't know. I just keep her in here, and I don't really think about taking her out anymore. Hey, don't mind me. I'll be out of chat, but watching while I pull a classic... Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know. I'm a lurker, too. My thing about lurking is, like, I love being in streams, but sometimes I just don't have anything to say. In fact, to be honest, and this is true, until I met Mike Hatcher in his streams, I used to never really chat in streams of any kind, ever. Mike Hatcher is kind of the first content creator that I have ever directly talked with in streams and things like that. And actually, it's been communicating with him in his streams is kind of what encouraged me to go into other creators' streams and talk with them. But a lot of the time I also feel like that I don't necessarily have anything interesting to talk about, so I just lurk, you know? So, I mean, I never have a problem with people lurking in my stream, and, you know, I don't have a problem with lurking in other people's streams. So sometimes I just want to hang out and not say anything and just take in the stream and the fun, you know. Um, Anyways, oh, Richard Lash, thank you for being my first thumbs up. I appreciate it. You rock, dude. Let's move on. So this is Shriekmaw. I love this card. I love the art. I love the power. And I just like this card. I actually, you'll notice this is an original Lorwyn print. I did not play very much Lorwyn. I probably opened maybe like 4 or 5 booster packs of Lorwyn. I want to say I like, not Lorwyn specifically. I want to say like I opened maybe 2 packs of Lorwyn and maybe like 3 packs of like Morning Tide, and like I only did like 2 or 3 of each like of those sets. I didn't really play very heavily in any of them, but I do wish I played more in them because they were really good sets. But in the maybe 2 or 3 Lorwyn booster packs that I opened, I cracked this guy open. And I thought he was fantastic. And I've had him for a very long time. This was an originally cracked card. And he's in the cube now. Like, he's been in and out of, you know, commander decks, and here he is in the cube. And I wouldn't remove him for anything because he's fantastic. I mean, he's a terror on legs, which is fantastic. And he's also evasive. Like, I mean, like, he's evasive, he's aggressive, he's, you know, a terror. Like, this card's great. Like, definitely try and get your hands on a copy of this guy. They've reprinted a bunch of times, so, I mean, it should be pretty easy to get this guy. But you gotta, but the thing is the original print is where it's at. I like collecting original prints. I mean, I know it doesn't mean that much, and sometimes, like, obviously I don't have original prints of some of the cards. But I try to get my hands on them when I can, so they're kind of like this own thing. Like I feel like it's cool to own an original print of something, especially when it's been reprinted a ton of times. So yeah, Shriekmaw is great removal, great for balancing. Oh, Helix. Yeah, I do. It just so happens that Cinder Shadow likes to stream during my shower time, and I want to be there to support him, so I'll throw his stream on, and I'll thumbs up it. I'll hang out for a little bit, and then I'll hit the shower and leave him on while I'm showering because I want him to get that you know, that view time. But I also like to make sure that everybody knows when I'm showering when I'm in his streams. I gotta go shower, guys. Think of me. I'll be thinking of you. More removal. This is Ultimate Price. This card is fantastic, especially in this cube. This card kills so many things, considering that, you know, there's 50 of every color in this cube. I mean, the gold cards can be very threatening, and this will never hit a gold card. It'll also never hit an artifact creature, obviously. But it deals with a lot of major problems, and it's very, very strong. So, I mean, I highly recommend getting a copy of Ultimate Price. This is an original print, obviously. I keep talking about that. So yeah, it's an original print Ultimate Price. It's very powerful. Play with it. Oh, I love this card. This is Mind Shatter. This card is... it's actually funny because its counterpart is immediately right underneath it. So the Mind Shatter here is a foil, which I love. I actually opened this in a pack of M10. And here's a Mind Twist, which I have actually owned this Mind Twist since the beginning of me playing. This was given to me, this Mind Twist was given to me by one of the guys. Like, I knew a guy who, I had a bunch of cards stolen from me when I was really young. I was probably about, I don't know, 12 or 13 years old. And when Habbo doesn't respond in chat 9 times out of 10, he's naked. It's true. For those of you, well, no, that's not true. I don't know why I'm saying that's true. It's true. Okay, if I'm in Cinder Shadow's streams and I'm not responding in chat, it's probably because I'm naked in the shower. So when I'm in Perp streams, I'm probably not naked, but in Cinder streams, I'm probably naked. All right, Helix, I'll see you in a little while. You take it easy, dude. So a long time ago when I was about, I want to say 12 or 13 years old, I had a whole bunch of cards stolen from me when I was at school. I used to bring a couple of decks to school to play with my friends, and they were stolen from me. And I later on met a guy who was a judge, and he was a really cool guy. He gave me a big, gigantic box full of cards. And so some of my favorite cards in my collection are cards that were given to me by him that I never got rid of because that meant a lot to me. This was one of the cards he gave me. He gave me a Mind Twist, and I adore it because he gave it to me. And also, it's just a powerful card. If you guys have never played with a Mind Twist, or even, I keep showing the Mind Shatter. The Mind Shatter is different. The Mind Shatter, this foil Mind Shatter, I actually opened in an M10 booster pack. It was not given to me. But these cards essentially do the same thing, and they are both insane powerhouse cards. These cards actually can kill people. So, and the thing is it's funny because they were like, oh, Mind Twist is so powerful. Let's reprint it, but we'll balance it by making it cost 1 extra black mana. It's still crazy strong. Even though they added that extra 1 black mana to try and balance it, still crazy strong. Both of these cards kill people. I had a game where my best friend was playing against me, and I think it was on turn 3, he had a Black Lotus and Moxes and lands. I can't remember how much he had of each, but it was turn 3, and he Mind Twisted me for 6 cards, which was my entire hand. And when he Black Lotused into that Mind Twist with all the Moxen he had, I died. I didn't immediately die afterwards, but I was basically unable to fight him for the next 3 turns. I had pretty much no hand whatsoever. He had answers to every single card that I was able to draw. His turn 3 Mind Twist for he hit me for 6 cards. I died 3 or 4 turns later. It was bonkers. I couldn't answer him. I couldn't deal with it. So never underestimate the power of a Mind Twist or a Mind Shatter. These cards are very, very strong, and the earlier you can get them out, the better. It's crazy. These cards are ridiculously strong. Nikolas The Fallen. So I know that Nikolas is a Planeswalker now, but this was his first printing as a character. Back in Zendikar. He's a mythic rare. He's a 5 mana 3/3 with a very powerful landfall ability. Whenever a land enters the battlefield, target player loses 3 life. If you do, put 3 +1/+1 counters on Nikolas The Fallen. I actually like this Nikolas more than any of the Planeswalkers, any of the Nikolas Planeswalkers. This guy is very strong. He wins games. If you don't have an answer for this guy gets way out of control very quickly. I mean, most of the time when I see him, I try to answer him as fast as possible, but I have played games where you can't kill him and he proceeds to murder face. It's very, very strong creature card. Vampire Nighthawk. This guy is so strong. This is M13. I used to have 5 or 6 copies of this guy, and now I'm only down to 1. Some of them I gave away, others went into decks that disappeared. I had 2 copies of this guy in one black deck that I used to teach beginners. And then one particular beginner that I was teaching how to play Magic, he took all my beginner decks, and then he moved away, and I never saw those decks again. So those were 2 Nighthawks that disappeared forever, and I was kind of upset about it, but at the same time, I didn't really care. I was well, cards disappear from me all the time. I can try my best to hold on to the cards that I do really like, but sometimes stuff disappears from me. So this Vampire Nighthawk, if I remember correctly, is the only Vampire Nighthawk I still own. And I mean, he's great. He's a great, powerful card. He's a flying Death Touch lifelinker 2/3 for 3 mana. The best feeling ever is getting this out on the first turn with a Dark Ritual. Hands down. That feels amazing. So Dark Ritual into Vampire Nighthawk is a pretty spectacular play. This guy will murder you. Nether Void. I gotta go ahead and say, this is not a real Nether Void. This is a proxy. But I love it. I adore this card. Nether Void is this is one of my favorite black cards, and it's actually really funny because uh, playing with my best friend. Um, Whenever like it's funny. There's a few stories about this card. So like my friend would get Nether Void in his picks for playing Cube. And I'm going to take a sip of my coffee so I don't forget, because otherwise it's going to get cold. It's already lukewarm. Back to the story. So, my best friend has gotten this card a few times, like in his picks for playing Cube, and he would never play it. He would never put it in his deck. And like, what would happen is there are times where like normally what happens is at the end of the night we go through all the cards, we separate them and put them away. And I would see him get Nether Void in his picks, but he wouldn't put it in the deck. I'm like, you played black, why didn't you play Nether Void? He's like, oh, I don't really like Nether Void, like, it always works against me, and blah, 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 and, like, I'm scared to like, use its power, and, like, and it's so funny because he talks about all these reasons for not playing it. Meanwhile, whenever I get Nether Void in my picks for playing Cube, I always play it. I always play it. It drives him nuts. Because, like, it's so funny. Like, the funniest thing ever is, like, and I've done this before, is, one time, one of the funniest plays ever was I had a game where I did, a swamp and a Black Lotus, and I put Nether Void into play on, like, turn one. And nobody could play anything for the next 5 turns. It was so funny. Um, and he would get so mad. And, like, I kept doing stuff like that. Like, I mean, I only had one game where I got to have Nether Void out on the first turn. But I played plenty of other games where I would get Nether Void on, like, turn 3, or get Nether Void on, like, turn 5, or whatever. And I love it. It's so funny. Because, I mean, I don't really get to break the card. The mana set and symbol look a little jank. Oh, like, in other words, you're trying to identify if it's a proxy? I guess so. I mean, I've never... I'm trying to look at it closely. I would say that the black symbol is a little too new. Like, it doesn't have that old school look to it, so that's probably a pretty good identifier. But, I love playing with this card, and it's so funny because the thing is that none of the cards, there's no cards that really combo with Nether Void. So, like, you can't really build a strategy around it. So, like, when I play it, everybody suffers, even myself, for playing it. And I love it. It's so funny. Like, watching me and my friends play around Nether Void is the funniest damn thing ever. For anybody who, like, I feel like I didn't really say what it does. All spells cast are countered unless their caster pays an additional 3 mana. It's so funny to play with this card. I love it. I absolutely adore this card. And, I mean, I would love to own an actual copy of Nether Void, but you know what? Just playing with this proxy is fine. Like, it's so fun to play with this card. Because I get so many laughs out of it. It's one of those cards that, like, tickles me whenever I get the chance to play it. I love it. I love fucking everything up with this card. It's wonderful. Try playing with this card. If you are like me who loves to embrace absolute chaos in, like, a cube play style, try playing with this card. It is so fun. Like, you might actually enjoy it. Or you'll hate it, like, you know? But I feel like people either love it or hate it. I love it. Oh yeah, Wrath of Wood. Like, I mean, I would never be allowed to talk about where you can buy proxies, but I will tell you that they're really easy to acquire if you know where to look. Like I said, I can't tell you where to find them. Like, I could probably get into trouble for doing that. But you can find them if you look hard enough, and they're really cheap. Like, so, you know, if you've got the drive to acquire proxies, you'll find them, dude. You'll find them. Like I said, I can't tell you how I acquired them, but you can get them. And it's not that hard, and they're really cheap. Moving on. This is the other. It's a foil Absorb This, and this is the other basic land cycling card from the set that I have. Let me see if it'll focus. I'm trying to get it to. Let me bring it down, and then bring it up. There we go. Basic land cycling 2. Target player loses 4 life, and you gain 4 life. So 7 mana to use the 4 life drain. Basic land cycling 2. This card's awesome. I would actually. Let me see. Trying to think of like the utility. I would say that the red one, I don't know, like I would say all 4 of them have their uses. It's the green one that's awful. Never play with the green one. The green one is terrible, but this one is pretty good. I had a game where I almost killed somebody with it, and it didn't work out. But I was really close. Like I was fighting my best friend, and he was at 4 life. No, he wasn't at 4 life. He was at like 6 life. And I was desperately trying to get in like 2 to 3 points of damage on the combat step just so I could play this on my second main phase to kill him. And it didn't work out. What happened was he actually murdered my creature, and I wasn't able to ever actually kill him with this card. I killed him later with something else, but I never got to get this off to kill my friend in the way that I wanted it to. But the point is that you can do it. Like, you can kill somebody with this card. It's possible. It probably takes a bit of effort, but it's possible. So I like this card a lot. I like the basic land cyclers. I really do. This is a favorite card of mine. This is Plague Spitter I think this is Invasion. If you guys have never seen or played with this card, it's so good. This card is so good. Having some focusing issues here. Let's see. There we go. Okay, let me bring it up a little closer to you guys. This guy is so good. At the beginning of your upkeep, Plague Spitter deals 1 damage to each creature and each player. If it is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to each creature and each player. It is a 3 mana 2/2. This guy is so strong. I like to actually, like, this guy's level of power, I sometimes refer to him as the Chain Whirler, like the Goblin Chain Whirler before Goblin Chain Whirler existed. This guy is so incredibly strong. And, like, you gotta play with it to realize how strong he is. He'll ping your opponent every turn. He'll ping all creatures every turn. Like, he'll hurt you too. But the secret to this guy is you give yourself an edge. Like, you get in some damage. Like, you put yourself... Like, when you cast this guy, you need to be ahead of your opponent by a certain amount first. But this guy will kill. He will kill people. And he's so good. And the thing is that, like, people don't like to kill him. Like, which is what makes him so good. He's kind of like, remember when I was talking about, I think it's Suture Priest? Suture Priest was the white one that says whenever a creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, that player loses 1 life. This guy is like Suture Priest in the way that, like, people don't want to kill him because he seems like he's really weak. But this guy is a huge, huge threat. He will kill people. He will wipe boards clean. Like, he'll get rid of 1/1 tokens. He'll lower, like, the toughness of all creatures. He'll hit an opponent every single turn. Like, he's fantastic. And, like, and even when somebody puts in the effort to actually remove him, he'll still hit the opponent again. Like, he's so good. And one of the things that makes this creature also really bonkers, he's 3 mana. He is a 3 CMC card. Hold on. There we go. He is a 3 CMC. And the reason why that's so important, you can Dark Writ him on turn 1. Like, that's what makes him so good. You can play this guy on the first turn with a Dark Ritual, and he will immediately be a major threat right off the bat. Such a great card. If you play, like, with a cube using black, get this card. This card is so good. And I think he's only like $1 or $2. Like, he's not very expensive, but he's very strong. Oh, and another thing to point out. He's a Chippy piece. This is Chippy. I love Chippy. I love Chippy art. It's my favorite. Um, Dread Return. This card is very good. It's very powerful. It's a reanimation spell, and it flashbacks for free upon sacrificing creatures, obviously. But that flashback is very frequently worth it. It's easy to get it to work. Most people know of this card's power based on Dredge, because this is a very powerhouse card in Dredge, like modern Dredge decks. I don't play Modern, I don't play Dredge, but even ignoring its obvious power in Modern and Dredge, this card is very, very strong. Um, yeah, Crypt Rats and Sulfuric Vortex, those are good cards, Wrath of Wood, definitely. I will not doubt their power. Those are very powerful cards. I used to have a Crypt Rats, but I don't know what happened to it. I must have given it away a long time ago. I think it was like a 7th edition Crypt Rats with like the white border. But I don't think I have it anymore. I think it's gone now. But anyways, yeah, play with this card. It's very strong. It's a very powerful reanimation spell. Very, very scary. Um, Hero's Downfall. This card is actually it's not the strongest form of removal, but it's extremely important. The main stipulation of what makes this card so important is it destroys planeswalkers. And there's only a few cards in the cube that can destroy planeswalkers, and this is one of them. This is from Theros. I opened it in a booster pack. Very important card. Like, I'm not going to, like I said, I don't feel like this is a very strong card, but it's super important. Like, you cannot, like, you need this to balance out planeswalkers. Like, you need to have this to balance planeswalkers. It's so important. So try and get, if you play with lots of planeswalkers in your cube, try to get planeswalker removal. It's very hard to find, but if you can get your hands on it, like, get some. Like, and this is an example of that. You need this to kill planeswalkers. It's very important. Imperial Seal. So this card is considered to be an extremely powerful Tudor card. I'm kind of like, I don't really care about this card too much. Like, I can like a lot of the big deal about this card is how rare it is. This is from Portal 3 Kingdoms, which is a very low printed set, so any cards that come from Portal 3 Kingdoms are extremely rare. The rare cards in Portal 3 Kingdoms, so long as they're not trash, are very highly sought after. Imperial Seal is, I think, one of the most highly sought after cards from Portal 3 Kingdoms. This is a great tutor. If you like tutors, play with it. I mean, if you can get your hands on it. It's pretty hard to acquire this card. But I mean, if you can get it, like, play with it, or keep it in a case forever if you're like that, I guess, but I prefer to play with it. I did actually get some Portal Kingdoms a long time ago. All the Portal Kingdoms cards that I got were from other people. This was one of them. I told you about that guy who gave me a whole crap load of cards when I was very little. He actually did have a lot of Portal cards. He gave me cards from the first Portal set, and I think he gave me a bunch of cards from Portal 3, which is what this is from, and not much else. I'm trying to think of all the Portal cards I have. I don't have a lot of them. He gave me a few of them here and there. Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's, I mean, I think it's worth a lot, but it's another, once again, if you are looking to talk about how valuable cards are, this is not the place to be. I don't really, in fact, I even have some very valuable cards in this cube that are kind of trashed up. I mean, obviously, like, you guys can recognize that the Power 9 is very obviously, those are proxies, and I'll let you guys know. But yeah, I mean, I do have some very valuable cards, and, I just don't care. I'd rather play with them. Some of them get pretty trashed up, like I said, because I've been playing with them since I was a small kid. But yeah, very strong card. Definitely play with it. Executioner's Capsule. This is the last card of the Capsule collection. This one is very strong. It's a, it destroys non-black creatures. Very useful kind of removal. I still would actually say that the most powerful one is the Dispeller's Capsule, but this one is a second place for the most powerful capsule. It's very useful. What's really interesting about this card, people forget that it's on the battlefield. So, like, you can cast this card and, like, leave it on your battlefield for, like, 4 or 5 turns, and people will forget that it exists. And then you can blow something up with it, and people are like, oh shit, I forgot about that card. And you're like, yup, now it's here to bite you in the ass. So definitely, like, I think that all the capsules are great. So, I mean, I can understand if people want to play with other things other than the capsules, but I feel like they're very strong. So you can try them out. They're cheap too. All my capsules I got in booster packs, so it's not like I went out and purchased these. Him to Turak. I feel like, I mean, this card is crazy strong. It's basically random discard, 2 mana at sorcery speed. Target player discards 2 cards at random. Him to Turak is extremely strong card. Probably one of the most powerful forms of discard in existence, I feel like. And it hurts every time. Like, every time you use this on somebody, it's brutal. Hold on, I'm trying to get the text to kind of show up here. So there you go. Also, I think I own all of the different arts of Him to Turak, and I didn't open these or acquire them from other players. I actually bought all my Him to Turaks, because I wanted them. And they're not in decks. I just literally wanted to collect them. I own 2 copies of all 4 of the different arts. This one is my favorite of all the art pieces. I don't know why. I just really like it. It's very weird and abstract and interesting. I don't really know what's supposed to be going on in this artwork, but something about it I adore. I really love the art for this particular Him to Turak. So it's in the cube. This is the one I chose over the other 4 different kinds of art. It's just my favorite. I just like looking at it. It's very interesting. Skin Render. This guy is very strong. Very strong. It's a removal spell, like a special kind of removal spell, attached to a 3/3 body for 4 mana. And it's a zombie, in case zombie tribalism matters. But this guy, like, he's so good. He's so much better than your classic destroy target creature spell attached to a creature. He puts 3 -1/-1 counters on a creature, and the thing that makes this such a big deal is that he will kill indestructible creatures. And there are a few. And there are like 2 or 3, I think, in the cube, and this guy will get rid of them. Actually, I take that back. He won't. There's one that's way too big for him to get rid of, but he's really strong. Like, I mean, the 3 -1/-1 counters, like, that's a huge deal. And the fact that if you think about it, you're paying 4 mana for a 3/3, and he puts 3 -1 counters on something. So it's like you're paying 1 mana for that 3 -1/-1 counters. This guy is so strong, and I think he's only been printed 1 time. So, I mean, I would try to acquire him. I don't know what his price range is, but he's pretty darn strong. So, I mean, I actually opened this guy in a booster pack. And I think he's the only one I've ever gotten. Like, I opened quite a few of the Scars of Mirrodin packs when it was around. Like, not a whole box or anything, but I opened like 5 or 6 packs of Scars of Mirrodin. And this guy's fantastic. So I keep him around. He's very good. There's something else. Oh yeah, I love the art. So what's really interesting about the art is that the artist who did this actually was inspired by the xenomorphs from the Alien series. So this art is very reminiscent to a xenomorph from the Alien franchise. Which is why I really like it. It's very striking, it's very weird, and it definitely makes me think of the Alien movies. So, yeah. I adore this card. This is Yog Moss Bargain. I love this card. It's so strong. Um, skip your draw step, pay 1 life, draw a card. This card is brutal. It's so powerful. Um, I mean, I don't own any copies of what's that card called? Necropotence. I've actually never played with a Necropotence, and I don't own any. But I do have these Yawgmoth's Bargains. I actually own 5 copies of Yawgmoth Bargain. And I got them all in trades when I was a kid. I traded a bunch of cards away for the 5 Yawgmoth's Bargains that I own. And I do have a deck that plays with 4 copies of Yawgmoth's Bargain. This is my 5th copy of Yawgmoth's Bargain, which is in the cube. This card is so strong. It's so strong. I mean, this card will win you a game. You can get it. Like, I mean, it's a little tough to cheat this card into play. I mean, you can do it, but it's not ideal. I'm trying to think, like, and the thing is too is that you have to be very careful with it. So you have to really plan around it. But if you can plan around it and build your entire playstyle around this card, especially in the cube, it'll win you a game. Like, it'll draw you everything you need when you need it, and you can proceed to kill your opponent with it. Like, I mean not directly, but it'll draw you all the cards you need to win the game. Very broken powerhouse card. And I don't think it's that expensive. I think it might be like $5 or $6. I'm not sure. But really strong card. Really strong card. How does that work? If you got a 6/6 indestructible and it has 3 damage on it, 6/3, and you hit it with a -3/-3, it will die? Let me think. So, okay. So I think if you add the -3/-3 after the damage has been dealt, then it will die. But if it's the reverse order, it won't. So, like, if you give it -3/-3, and then you hit it with combat damage for another 3, it won't die, because that is a destruction effect. That's a combat-based destruction effect, so it won't die. It has to be that, like, you would deal 3 damage to it, and then you would have to find a way to get the -3/-3 on it afterwards, and then it will die. But -3 and minus, like, that's why it's considered that, and it's very confusing, because, like, it's very weird to think about this. Like, it actually confuses people who are new to Magic, and even one of my friends who has played Magic for quite some time thought it was super confusing that minus effects, like -X abilities, are much more efficient at getting rid of creatures than destruction effects. It's that, like, because you can kill an indestructible creature with a -X ability, even if it's only temporary. It's that it's specifically combat damage and destruction effects that will not kill indestructibility. So, like, the power level on -X effects should never be underestimated. They're always much stronger than destruction effects. And it's very weird, because I've even played with seasoned players who are not used to that, which is very interesting. And I used to also, even when I was younger, I used to think that -X effects were not very strong either, but they're actually always better than destruction effects. I would say the only thing stronger than a -X ability is a sacrificing card. Like, it's like destruction is, like, it's like destruction, and then -X, and then sacrifice. That's the range of, like least powerful to most powerful form of removal. Random things like that I've never come across in gameplay. I just don't know about the rules. Yeah, it's wonky. I have had to rules lawyer on certain things like that, and I'm not very good at rules a lot of the time. So I kind of, like, a lot of the time what happens is, this happens too, because, like, the thing is I would say that my best friend, who I play the most with, is about as knowledgeable of rules as I am. And we both mess up, like we do. So, like, a lot of the time we do actually, there have been plenty of times where me and my friend will be playing Cube, and we run into a really weird rules situation where we literally have to grab our phone and we have to like look up how certain cards interact with one another just to figure out what's going on. And I mean, like, and there will be times too where I'll ask my friend if he knows something before I do, because like, and sometimes too, like, we'll even like do a like we'll sometimes overwrite a rule simply because we don't understand it. Like there will be times where I will say I don't know how this works, so I will purposely choose the thing that works against me rather than for me because I'm not 100% sure how it works. And like sometimes my best friend will be like, okay, well, I think you're wrong and that you should get the benefit because of so and so. And if we're both super not sure, we'll just look it up. But I generally like to try to find the path of least resistance. So like I will like say like I don't want to like make your life harder because it will benefit me. I would rather take the fault and because I don't understand how it works. And then, like I said, he'll either step in or he'll, either me or him will be like, well, let's look it up, So it just depends on the situation. Same as Necropotence, just written in easy mode. Well, admittedly, Necropotence is a little different than Yawgmoth's Bargain. I would actually say that Yawgmoth's Bargain is more powerful than Necropotence. Simply because Necropotence, if I remember correctly, Necropotence requires that you can't draw the cards until the next turn. Yawgmoth's Bargain just gives you the cards immediately. Which, and the balancing for Yawgmoth's Bargain is its mana cost, which, as we all know, is a joke. Because there's so many ways to get past the mana cost. But yeah, Necropotence is just a little more complicated. Right, that makes sense to me, but you never know with WotC. Yeah, that's true. It's very weird when you get into complex rules like that. Bloodchief Ascension. So I actually used to have all 5 of the Ascension cards. Bloodchief Ascension, I have Pyromancer's Ascension, I have Beastmaster Ascension, which is in the cube. Pyromancer Ascension is not in the cube because it's crap in this cube, because the cube is a singleton format, and the Pyromancer Ascension requires multiple copies of things. I also used to have Archmage Ascension, and I also used to have, I think it's called Luminarch Ascension. Luminarch Ascension and Archmage Ascension I gave away to friends. But the Beastmaster Ascension, the Bloodchief Ascension, and the Pyromancer Ascension I kept. So this is the Bloodchief Ascension. This card is actually very, very strong. It can come out on turn 1, and it immediately can just start dominating. It gets very oppressive, very strong. The earlier you can get this to start taking over, the more powerful it is. So, like, generally you want to be fast and aggressive when you get this card on the field, because you want it to get up to, what is it? Let's see, 3 or more quest counters. So you want to get it up to 3 quest counters as fast as you possibly can. And then basically what happens is that once it's got 3 counters on it, you can start draining life for just about everything you do. Like, whenever a card, like it says a card, so it can be a sorcery, it can be an instant, it can be an enchantment, it can be a creature, it could be anything. So whenever a card is put into a graveyard from anywhere, so like that means like you can make them discard it, you can blow it up, you can make them sacrifice it, you can mill. So like if you have like a strong milling effect, this will trigger off of that milling effect. It's saying whenever a card goes into a graveyard from anywhere, for every 1 card that is put into a graveyard, your opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. This card is so obnoxiously powerful for 1 mana. Sorry, I'm trying to get it to focus again. It's kind of giving me some trouble here. But yeah, this card is so obnoxiously strong. Like, it can win games. It can put you in the lead. Like, this card can put you in the lead from the beginning. This card can stick around until the end of the game and murder people. Like, it's such a strong card for so many different purposes. Like I said, it triggers off of destruction, triggers off of discard, triggers off of mill. Like, it's so obnoxiously powerful. And it's only 1 mana. 1 mana. And the cost to get it to start working is so easy. It just says, it literally says, an opponent has to lose 2 or more life each turn for it to get a quest counter, which is so easy to do. Like, so strong. Brutal Horde Chief. This is an interesting card. I remember when I first opened this card, and I thought it was very meh. I didn't necessarily really like this card very much when I first got it. But then I think I basically kept it. I didn't put it in anything for a long time. It wasn't in any EDH decks because of the color requirements, black, red, and white. I didn't put it in an actual, like, Reanimator deck or anything. Like, any kind of deck. I didn't put it in anything. Just kind of hung around in my binders, you know, collecting dust. And then when I built my cube, this was one of the first cards that I knew that I was going to put into my cube because I didn't think it would fit anywhere else. This card is very strong, specifically in the cube. It drains opponents of life with just by attacking. It also allows you creatures your opponents control block this turn if able, and you choose how those creatures block. So this card can literally single-handedly dominate combat steps. It's very strong, and it's funny because I was going to describe it as being very brutal, and it's got brutal in its name. Definitely really strong, but the thing is I could have never gauged how strong this card was until I saw it played in the cube a few times. It gets very strong. The draining ability is very powerful. This guy says no blocks, right? Creatures your opponents control block this turn if able, so they have to block. But the thing that's nice is you get to choose how they block. So you get to choose basically like how creatures block, and like, you know, you get to kind of like figure out what works best for you. It's pretty strong. Really dominates a combat step. Limduel the Necromancer. So I actually love this card more for flavor than playability. This card is very complex in a very weird kind of way. So, like, first of all, he's a 7-mana card, so he's very expensive to get out on the battlefield. He's a 4/4, so 7-mana 4/4, which doesn't seem very good. And then it says, whenever a creature an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from play, you may pay 2 mana, 1 black, 1 colorless. If you do, return that card to play under your control. If it's a creature, it's a zombie in addition to its other creature types. And also you may tap 2, a black and a colorless, to regenerate a target zombie. So, like, he seems like he's pretty strong, but I don't know. I don't see this guy get played very often. Like I said, I have him in here for flavor because I think Limduel the Necromancer as a character is really cool. But he just doesn't see play very often. But I wouldn't remove him. I kind of keep him in here because I want to see him get played. I feel like he's strong enough to keep in the cube, and you never know what's going to really happen with him. So, there you go, Wrath. Limduel was a necromancer. Want to hear more? Fuck you, pay me. Yeah. It's very true. I actually know a lot of the lore about Limduel. He's a very interesting character and kind of tragic in his own way because Limduel was really an innocent bystander to everything that happened to him. And then once he was taken over, if I remember correctly, he basically the majority of his consciousness and moral like standing was taken over by a character named Marsil the Pretender. Marsil the Pretender was basically Marsil the Pretender was originally a character in the dark. He was the guy who imprisoned Ith inside of the Maze of Ith. Actually, no, Ith wasn't in the Maze of Ith. Ith was in Barrel's cage. That's what it was. And Marcel the Pretender was a dick. He was a major douchebag who was absorbing the power of Ith while stuck in the cage to become the powerful person. He was a planeswalker, if I remember correctly. Wait, was Marcel planeswalker? I don't think so. Maybe not. But what ended up happening was, yeah, that's right. He was a legendary character, and he ended up turning himself into a phylactery lich. And yeah, I did. It was nice to see you, Mike Hatcher. I did get a package, but I keep hoping that Bo Falcon is going to show up. I have not opened the package yet. I'll admit that I will open the package at the end of this stream. But I feel bad because I was really hoping Bo Falcon would come in so I could open it in front of him. So I'm kind of like waiting until the very end of the stream to open up my package. Got it right here. See? But yeah, I was hoping he would show up and I would open it. So I'm going to give the whole stream, like, let the whole stream go by, hope that Bo Falcon comes in. If not, then that's how that is, and I'll just open it, and I'll be sure to let him know that I appreciate the package that he sent me, and I'll thank him for it. And I'll just let him, because the stream will stay up, and he can rewatch it. But I'll thank him properly. But yeah, anyways, yeah, Limdul was, what I was saying was that Marcel the Pretender decided he wanted to become a phylactery lich. So he started implanting his soul into an object. He put it into a ring. And he ended up dying, but his soul survived in the ring. And basically, like, decades and centuries went by, and the ruins of his palace or his temple or whatever stayed underneath the ice during the Ice Age. And Limdul was a soldier in the... I can't remember. I think he was... I'm trying to remember what the army was. It was the army that was fighting against the barbarians. There was like a barbarian army and like a proper like civilized army, and they were at war with each other. And Limdul was a soldier in the civilized army. I can't remember the name of it. And he ended up, during a great huge battle against the barbarians, he abandoned the battlefield. He was a deserter. And he ran into an ice cave to try and... because when he was deserting, he had to go and find somewhere to survive. So he ran into an ice cave, and the ice cave was directly connected to the ruins of the ancient temple that Marcel the Pretender owned. And in that cave was the ring of Marcel the Pretender, which was a phylactery for his soul. He was attracted, like he could tell that the ring was powerful and it was calling to him. So he picked up the ring and put it on. And after that moment, once he put it on, his body became basically a vessel for Marcel the Pretender. And he still had a consciousness as himself, but he ended up basically being corrupted by Marcel the Pretender. So he essentially became evil and became this tool for Marcel the Pretender to come back and try to take over everything and raise a giant undead army and all this stuff. Very interesting character, and in his own right, he was kind of a tragic character as well. And he's very deep. He's got a lot of lore to him. He also ended up being teleported to Chandalar. And he basically wanted to absorb... He wanted to take control over all of the mana in Chandalar, and he ended up, like... I can't remember... Mike Hatcher actually knows the lore of Chandalar better than I do. I'm more keen on the older Limdul lore, but Limdul was... I think he was, like, the main bad guy in Chandalar, if I remember correctly. But yeah, so interesting stuff. But I keep him in here because I always hope that somebody will play him. If not, I mean, he just gets pulled out and replaced, and he's good for thinning out decks. So I went on a while about that guy. So he's an interesting character. I really like Limdul a lot. Desecration Demon. So this is an obscenely strong card. Like, this card right here makes... Desecration Demon makes Jazam Jin look like a little bitch. He is a 4-mana 6/6 flyer demon, and it says at the beginning of each combat, any opponent may sacrifice a creature. If a player does, tap Desecration Demon and put a +1/+1 counter on it. He's kind of like I really like this guy because you might not be able to attack with him every combat step or even block with him during your opponent's combat steps. But he at least removes threats on the battlefield sometimes. Like, I've seen it happen. I've seen my best friend playing against him sacrificing, like, trying to figure out if it's advantageous for him to sacrifice his own creatures to keep the demon out of play for a turn, while he's desperately trying to get cards to, like, put him, give him an edge over me. So it's nice that it's like he's like another one of those cards that gives an ultimatum. Either you're going to have to deal with a big scary demon, or you're going to have to deal with the fact that you need to sacrifice one of your creatures. Like, very strong flying 6/6. Like, for 4 mana, I mean, it's so worth it. Very powerful card. Kazarov, Sengir Pureblood. This guy's very interesting. He's from Dominaria. He's a 7-mana 4/4 flyer. He's like a better Sengir Vampire. Whenever a creature an opponent controls is dealt damage, not dies, when it's dealt damage, put a +1/+1 counter on Kazarov, Sengir Pureblood. And then on top of that, he has a shock built into him. Like, I mean, obviously it's not a 1-mana shock ability, but you could pay 4 mana to deal 2 damage, and frequently... I mean, you can only do it to creatures, but it's like he can boost himself by doing that, and on top of that, it's a great mana sink. So, like, if you don't really have cards to, like, spend your mana on, you can just sink mana into this ability and shock something. It's nice. I have debated about taking him out. I want to eventually get my hands on a copy of... what's it called? I want to get a copy of Yog Moth, Thran Physician from Modern Horizons. And I kind of made this, decision that if I can get my hands on a copy of Yog Moth, this will probably be the guy that comes out to put Yog Moth in. Because I really want Yog Moth. I mean, come on, I'm a major fan of Phyrexia. I want Yog Moth. So if I do get a Yog Moth, this will be the guy that will probably come out in replacement of Yog Moth. But I do like him. I really do. I'll probably put him in an EDH deck that I'll never play, or, in a binder or something, but I do actually like this card, so it's whatever. Reanimate. This card is so strong. So what it does, it's a 1-mana sorcery reanimation spell. Let me go ahead and get it to focus. Put target creature card from any graveyard into play under your control. You lose life equal to that creature's total mana cost. This card is so strong. It's one of the most powerful reanimation spells I think I've ever seen. The fact that it's 1 mana is what makes it so great. Like, I've seen, like, one of my favorite plays, like, it is with this card is actually not in this cube. I actually have I have 2 copies of this card. This is not my only copy of Reanimate. I have a second copy of Reanimate, and it's actually in a reanimation deck. It's a modern Reanimate. Well, technically not modern, because Reanimate is not printed for modern, but it's a casual reanimation deck, and one of the nastiest things it can do is it can actually get a reanimation off to reanimate, like, an Eldrazi, which is ludicrous. So, like, I frequently get it off in the early days before, like, in the early life totals when I'm, like, still around 20 life. And then you can reanimate something and, like, take 13 damage, but now you have, like, a 13/13 on the battlefield. Which can be risky, but I've seen it win games. Like, it's done other things in this cube, but, like, nothing in particular that's super spectacular. But it's still a great reanimation spell. Mesmeric Fiend. Mesmeric Fiend is removal. It's actually pretty sneaky because it allows you to look at the opponent's hand and remove a card from the game with it. I mean, obviously it has the stipulation of, if it gets killed, the card goes back to their hand. But, I mean, I remember one time my friend played this against me and removed a card that I really needed, and I was struggling to kill it. Like, he was playing like blue and black and some other color, and he was actually countering all of my removal spells to try and get rid of this guy just to get that card back. And it got to a point of where it was a moot point. Like, I couldn't afford to keep spending removal on getting rid of a Mesmeric Fiend, and he was able to just completely eliminate that card from the game. Like, I mean, it was gone for good. I had no ability to get rid of the Fiend. So yeah, this card's great. It's only 2 mana, it's a 1/1, and you'd be surprised how long it can stick around sometimes. Like, sometimes it can stick around for an entire game, and you just can't deal with it. I've seen it happen. Unburial Rites. This is a fantastic reanimation spell. I definitely opened this in a booster pack for Innistrad. Great reanimation spell. It's expensive for a reanimation spell, but it's very, like, the fact that you can use it twice is what makes it so great. And I mean, considering that this cube moves really slow, the mana cost is actually not that big of a deal. Like, it's very common to get this card to work twice in a single game. And very strong reanimation. Highly recommend it if you want reanimation in your cube. This is a great card to include. Kokusho the Evening Star. So, for anybody who doesn't know, this is the most powerful of all of the 5 Spirit Dragons. I actually only own 2 Spirit Dragons. You guys have already seen the first one, which is in blue. It's Kega, the Tide Star. This guy is the most powerful of the 5 dragons. You can break him easily. I mean, there's all sorts of interesting combos with the guy, but just the fact that you know that, like, this guy, like, it's very fun how this guy functions, because first of all, so he's a flying 5/5, so, like, right off the bat, he's an evasive threat. But, like, even if, like, he gets destroyed or blocked or whatever, he's going to put you in a situation where you're 10 points ahead of your opponent. Oh, wait. Yeah, 10 points ahead of your opponent. So he will drain your opponent for 5, and then actually, he hits every opponent. So, like, it could be more than 5. A lot of the time, he only hits for 5. But he'll hit for 5, like when he dies, and then gain you 5 life, which is often a 10-point lead. He will put you ahead of your opponent by 10 points. So he's great. Like, this card is absolutely fantastic, and there are lots of ways to abuse this guy. It gets really crazy. Probably, like I said, he's probably the most powerful of the 5 Spirit Dragons, so definitely, like, highly recommend him. Like, especially if you're, like, into, like, playing with, like, crazy, flavorful, like, dragons or whatever, you know, he's great. Endling. So this is the 3rd Morphling that I have in my cube. Like I said, I own 6 Morphlings. This is the 3rd one. This I would actually say is the weakest of the 6 Morphlings. He's pretty good. I mean, all the Morphlings are good, but yeah, exactly, Wrath of Wood. That's exactly why people love Kokusho. He can get very crazy very quickly, especially in multiplayer games. I would definitely say Endling is the weakest of the 6 Morphlings. And I can't say that this guy has done anything impressive in this cube yet. Yeah, he's not been played very much yet, and I think he was played maybe once, and there was no real way to properly play him. I would like to see more of him, but I do legitimately think he's probably the weakest of the 6 Morphlings in the cube. Still good. He's still a Morphling. He can be a big threat. I mean, all the Morphlings are threats, so, you know. This next card I really love. This is Blind Zealot. I love this card. There are so many things I love about this card. So, first of all, God, there's so much to say about this card. So, he's a 3-mana 2/2 with Intimidate, so he's highly evasive. And also it says, whenever Blind Zealot deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice it. If you do, destroy target creature that player controls. This card is an MVP. absolute MVP, and he might not seem like it right off the bat, but he is so good. Or I should say she. It is a nice, pretty, creepy lady in the art. So, first of all, she has a 3 CMC. So, whenever I say that, I point that out because you can Dark Rid it. You can play Dark Ritual and get her into play on the first turn. That's the major thing about this. So you can play Dark Ritual, get her out on the first turn, and you have a 2/2 evasive threat. So that means you can hit your opponent for 2 damage that is almost always going to be unblockable for at least the next 2 or 3 turns. The next thing too is that when they put a threat out, and you realize that the creature that is a major threat is more important to destroy than it is to hit your opponent for 2 every turn, you can simply hit for 2 and then blow her up to destroy that threat. This card is fantastic. And it's a common card from New Phyrexia. This card, like I said, it's a 3 mana MVP. It is such a great card. It's highly aggressive when you need it to be. You can have it come out on the first turn, and it blows up problems when you need it to blow up problems. Great card. Fantastic. I love that card. Oh, and another thing. I love the art of this card. I really do. This is done by, it's a duo, Jaina Schreimer and Joanne Voss. The art is just, I love it. I love the art. It's a very creepy, lady, Phyrexian lady with a Phyrexian symbol above her head and a Phyrexian dagger, and very creepy, beautiful art that's just perfectly suited for Phyrexia. I love this card for a lot of reasons. It's so good. This is a proxy. I just got to say it right off the bat. This is a proxy of Sinkhole. Sinkhole is important in the cube. It only destroys lands. It's 2 black to play it. And you can destroy any kind of land that you need to destroy. This card is so important. One of the things that you guys will start to realize once we actually get to it, I have some very powerful lands in this cube that need to be handled. So, you not only have to worry about blowing up creatures and enchantments and artifacts, you have to be very concerned about when it's important to blow up lands, because there are some ludicrously powerful lands in this cube. So this card is super important. It's a very, very important piece of land removal that this cube needs to have. Like I said, it's a proxy, but it does what it needs to do. Very important. Faceless Butcher. This is a lot like the Mesmeric Fiend that we saw before. If you have mana open, that shapeshifter keeps your opponent in check. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I haven't seen it do enough yet. I think I mentioned this earlier, but it just hasn't, come up and done much yet. But I'm sure that when he gets, he'll have, that Endling. He'll eventually have a game where he'll look spectacular. We just haven't seen it yet. But I would still say that he's probably the weakest of the 5. So this is Faceless Butcher. This is a time-shifted version, which I like. It's got the little purple hourglass. When it comes into play, remove target creature from other than Faceless Butcher from the game. When Faceless Butcher leaves play, you may remove that. Well, you have to return the card back to its owner's control. So this guy's great for removal. It's a lot like Mesmeric Fiend, and it's pretty strong. I mean, I feel like a lot of the creatures that remove cards from the game temporarily, they get by really well. They're hard to deal with. They really are. Because you get into situations where, a lot of the cards that remove cards from the game temporarily, you run into situations where it's very hard to handle them because you have to keep up with the threats. A lot of playing in my cube is threat management. You have to constantly be on top of, because your opponent is playing a threat almost every turn, and you basically have to figure out what you can manage, what you can allow to stay on the board, and what you need to remove. So it's very common that when they use cards like these to remove your threats, you have to still keep up with the fact that you need to deal with your opponent's threats, and so you don't have the time or the resources to remove these removal creatures. So they become a problem, and like they're very hard to deal with. So definitely have them if you're if you're playing Cube. They're very good to have. Liliana Vess. I love this particular copy of Liliana Vess. I've had this for a long time. A long time ago, this is the Therese Nielsen art. It's the original Liliana Vess. This is a foil. It's not the first printing of Liliana Vess, but this is the original version, the original style of Liliana Vess. This was probably, I think, her third or fourth printing. She was from the Liliana Vess versus Garruk Wildspeaker printing, and my friend got the Garruk, and I took the Liliana Vess. This art is beautiful, and this Planeswalker is very strong. It's, target player discards a card, search your life. She discards cards, she tutors, and she reanimates. This card is a force to be reckoned with. I don't know if she's super valuable anymore, but she's very strong, and her presence is, when she hits the board, people say, oh no. You know what I mean? It's very powerful. Oh, are you talking about the Faceless Butcher moving at instant speed? That would be interesting, but no, he's a creature. I think he might be a little too powerful for instant speed. I love this next card. This is a Dusk Urchins from Shadowmoor. This card is so good. So Dusk Urchins, first of all, the main feature that I love about this is that it's a 3-mana 4/3, so you can play it. This is another one of those cards that you can play on the first turn using Dark Ritual. But the thing that makes it so cool is that, it can attack for 4 on the first turn, on turn 2, but it gets smaller every time you attack or block with it. But even though it gets smaller every time you attack or block with it, when it finally dies, you can draw cards equal to the amount of counters on it. So, there are ways to kind of, you can beef it up with an enchantment so that it won't die after 3 turns of using it. And however, small it gets with the amount of counters on it, when it finally dies, you get to draw cards equal to the counters. So, in its worst possible scenario, when it dies, you'll draw 3 cards, which is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. It's hyper aggressive, and it replaces itself 3 times over. When it finally dies, you'll be able to draw 3 cards. And the only way to not gain any advantage from this card is if your opponent tries to answer it the moment it comes out. Fantastic card. It's so strong. So strong. And the thing is, too, is that, what's really cool is that even if you don't get to play this until, turn 4 or turn 5 or whatever, it still feels really powerful. I've played this... I've never gotten this guy out on the first turn. Theoretically, you could get this guy out on turn 1, but I've never been able to do that. But I have gotten this guy out on, turn 5 or turn 6. He's a force to reckon with. He's so strong. Give it a hammer, yeah. But, yeah, he's very good. Very fun card to play with. Zathrid Gorgon. So, this is a really interesting card. It's a 6-mana 3/6 with Death Touch, and also it's removal. So, you can tap 3, tap her, and put petrification counters on creatures, and those creatures become colorless artifacts with Defender. So, it's reusable removal in a black body. She's got a big, fat booty. Look at that booty. Big, big booty. See, here's the thing you'll learn about me, guys. I love me some big booty bitches, okay? I love me some big booty bitches. Absolutely. And she is a big booty bitch, and she is hot to trot. And the other thing I really like about her is that she's 6 mana, but she's only 1 black mana symbol. Which, may seem weird, But I was kind of talking to you guys earlier about color restrictions, and the thing is that the more powerful cards get with the higher mana costs, the more likely you're likely to see lots and lots of like, singular, like, color requirements. Zathrid Gorgon does a lot in this one card and only costs one black mana symbol. Like, I mean, she's 6, obviously. Like, her CMC is 6, but that one black mana symbol makes her so flexible. Like, so flexible. She's a great card, and, like, she's very, very threatening. So, like, I mean, I've seen her do a lot of work. I've also seen her die really quick, because she's very threatening, but she's great. She's a great include to have. So this is this is a proxy of the Abyss. And this card is about as fun as playing with the Nether Void. I would say I have more fun with the Nether Void than the Abyss, but I still love the Abyss because I love these enchantments. Like, Nether Void and Abyss, they're so in-your-face oppressive. They're so fun. Like, I have the hugest smile on my face just thinking about all the fun I've had with these cards. I have gotten, just like the Abyss, just like Nether Void, I've gotten the Abyss out really early. I think the earliest I've ever gotten it into play was like turn 2. And I have actually made this card work before, too. Like, it's super ridiculous. What was it I was playing with? I've had cards, I can't remember what it was. I played with something that couldn't be destroyed, like, at all. And it was so nasty, like, being able to have a creature that wouldn't be destroyed and having the Abyss out in play. And, like, there's just no answer for it. It's so good. Like, if you ever get a chance, like, there's always that guy with the Abyss. Yeah, it's true. If you guys get a chance to play with this in a cube, do it. It's so fun. And this is the same situation as, like, the Nether Void with my friend. My best friend, is so, like, he gets so nervous about playing with the Abyss and Nether Void because he's always worried about the risks of, like, playing with these cards. I play with them like a reckless son of a bitch, like, every single time. And I have never, ever cast the Abyss or Nether Void and regretted it. I always have a great time playing with these cards, and it's like, I would almost think of it like, whenever you play with the Abyss or with Nether Void, like, here's what you gotta do. You gotta play, like, you have to think about it like, remember when we were looking through White, and I showed you the card Balance? And, like, the thing is that Balance is a card where when you play it, you have to make sure that it leans in your favor. And, like, whether or not it leans in your favor always depends on the board state. The Abyss and Nether Void are like playing with Balance. You have, like, before you cast it, you always need to check your board state and make sure the card will work in your favor. I have never cast the Abyss or Nether Void in a disadvantageous board state. I've always been able to cast them and make them lean in my favor. So that's what you have to keep in mind when you play with these cards. Because if you do it that way, if you think about these cards that way, you'll always be able to have a fun time with these cards. I love these cards. They're great. Augur of Skulls. This card is really, really interesting. This was from Future Sight, and during Future Sight, they printed a 5-colored cycle of Augurs. And this was the black version. It's the only one I have in my cube of the Augurs, is the black one. This guy is really strong. He's really, really strong. I love this guy a lot. So, like, the main thing that makes this guy a big deal, it's going to sound weird. This is going to sound really, really weird. He's a 2-mana creature. It's hard to find good cards at 2 mana that are, like, not obviously broken. Like, I mean, oh, well, why don't you just play with a Bob? Well, I don't own a Bob, and I'm not looking to buy one because Bob is super expensive. I can't just go out and buy myself a Bob, you know? Maybe someday in the future I might buy myself a Bob, but until then I have to find other cards that can, fit those 2 mana slots that are really useful. Augur of Skulls does so much work. This card is great. I actually feel like that, it does a lot for only 2 mana. So it's a 2 mana 1/1 that can regenerate. So it's kind of like a Drudge Skeletons a little bit, which is nice. But this ability right here, sacrifice Augur of Skulls, target player discards 2 cards, play this ability only during your upkeep. That ability is so strong on this guy. It is so strong. I love this guy because he practically invalidates draws. Like, I know that your upkeep happens before your draw step. But he throws wrenches into your opponent's plans. So, like, what's nice about this guy is you can get him out really early, and he's a 2 mana 1/1 with regenerate. That's nice. That means that for at least 2 or 3 turns, the Augur of Skulls can protect you. You can throw him in front of things and you can regenerate him most of the time, which is really nice. But then, like, around, turn 3, maybe as far as turn 5, Augur of Skulls starts to be invalidated. So, like, you don't need him anymore, right? And and it's not really worth it to pay the 2 mana to keep regenerating him past turn 4 or turn 5. But then you see that sacrifice ability. So, like, he becomes invalidated as the turns go on, but you can still gain some utility out of him by getting rid of him, like, and making room for better, more powerful things. So, like, by the time he's invalidated, you just get rid of him and destroy 2 cards in the process. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. It's a great feeling. Like, and that's a secret to this stuff is when you play with cards in a cube like this, because the power level is continuously growing with each turn, that means that you have to make decisions where you're okay with invalidating. Like, you have to be comfortable with the fact that certain cards become invalidated after a certain amount of turns. So, like, having him work as a form of resourceful removal by discarding means that by the time he's invalidated, you don't feel bad about it. You can get rid of him comfortably. So this card is really good. He's probably, like I said, he's the best of the augurs, to the point of where he's the only augur that I put in the cube. He's very good. Necrodol. Necrodol is one of the original removal cards on a creature. So this guy's really strong. He's a 4 mana 2/1 first striker. When he comes into play, destroy target non-artifact, non-black creature. That creature can't be regenerated. This card's great. Absolutely great. In fact, in my opinion, Necrodol set the standard for all creatures with removal built into them forward. He will remove something, which is, what he's great for. But even after he removes something, you still have a 2/1 first striker, and you would be so surprised how many creatures this 2/1 first striker can kill. It's awesome. Like, what's really great is that, like, you can cast him to destroy a threat. And then after you cast him to destroy a threat, you can leave him on the battlefield to block little guys. Or you can even send him in for the attack to try and kill little guys. He's wonderful. This guy's great. Another interesting note about Necrodol that I love telling people, this is actually really fascinating. So Necrodol is not actually the human you see here. If you look really close, this is kind of a little intriguing flavor. You'll see that there's a scarab on his neck, and the energy of the scarab is emanating out. The Necrodol is actually the scarab. If I remember correctly, the lore behind a Necrodol is that a Necrodol is a spirit. It's either a spirit or a djinn. It's one or the other. It's a spirit or djinn that basically takes over people's bodies and forces them to do things against their will. So the Necrodol is not actually the person. The Necrodol is the energy scarab popping out of his neck, which a lot of people don't know. And I always thought that was a really interesting little fun fact about the artwork on the card. Great card. Play with it. definitely play with it. Yes, Chains of Mephistopheles. This card is infamous. So I should say this is also a proxy. Pretty much all of the really powerful black enchantment cards. All the, Abyss, Nether Void, Chains of Mephistopheles. All these are proxies, but I love having them. So this text is a mouthful, and I would be more than happy to explain it to anybody who doesn't understand it. So I'll read the text, and then I'll tell you what it actually does. So it says here, sorry, I'm going to read it because it's very small. Every time a player, here, I'll bring it over the camera as best as I can, and I'll try to read it. Oh, God, I just can't read it at that angle. Okay, here we go. Every time a player draws a card, that player must first discard a card from his or her hand. If there are no cards in that player's hand, take the top card from the library and place it in the graveyard instead of drawing. This enchantment does not apply to the first card drawn by a player during the draw phase. Okay, so let me break that down for you guys, in case it's a little confusing. So basically, Chains of Mephistopheles, what it does is it always ignores your first draw. So like during your draw step, you always get to draw your one normal card. After that first card, that's when it starts to hurt. What it then does is that each additional card after your first one, it says, okay, are you drawing a card? If yes, you must first discard a card from your hand. After you discard a card from your hand, you may then draw a card, okay? Then it says, if the player who is drawing cards, like who is drawing additional cards, has no cards in their hand, they completely are not allowed to draw any cards and are then forced to mill the top card of their deck into their graveyard for each card that they would draw. That's what this card does. The reason why I had to break it down that way is because there are a lot of people who get confused because they think that Chains of Mephistopheles is an endless loop of card drawing and discarding, which it's not. Because there are people who would be like, well, wouldn't that mean that if you draw a card and then discard a card and then draw a card, you'd still have to discard another card? No, that's not how it works. It's first checking to see if you draw a card. If the answer is yes, you are drawing a card, you must first discard a card, and then you may draw that card. And it does that for each additional card you would draw after the first card is drawn. Then, if you have no cards in hand, you have to mill and you don't get to draw anything. That's what Chains of Mephistopheles does. So this card, I got to talk a little... I explained how it works. Now I get to talk about what it actually does in the cube. So this card is actually very tough to play. It's not very dependable. I mean, it comes out for 2 mana, so you can get it out nice and early, and it can basically shut down draw control, which can be very nice. Especially when you're worried about Ancestral Recall, Treasure Cruise, Brainstorm, things like that. This card really shuts it down. But the thing is that I would say that this card feels amazing if you can get it down within the first, I would say, like 3 or 4 turns. After turn 4, I would say this card is useless. So, I mean, it's nice to have for a few different reasons. It's nice for dealing with control, because it puts the hammer down on control. It feels great to have it in your opening hand. But the other thing that's really interesting is that the fact that it becomes invalidated after turns 4 through whatever afterwards, it feels good to be able to know that it can be a card that you can comfortably get rid of. Let's say you're playing with cards that force you to discard other cards, and there are a few in here. This always feels alright to discard when you're in late game. So that's what's kind of okay about it. That's why, it's really powerful to begin with, but you don't feel super terrible about having to get rid of it later, Next is Deadeye Tracker. This card is so interesting. This is one of the maybe 2 or 3 Ixalan cards in the cube. I think this is the 3rd, Ixalan card. This is a foil, by the way. A very good friend of mine actually gave this to me. Like, he didn't trade it to me. He just wanted me... One of my best friends, who actually plays my cube with me, he just gave me this. He's like, you can have it. I don't want it. Hey, Bo Falcon's here! Finally, Jesus, dude. All right, well, you know what? I'm so glad you're here because I am going to open your package in just a little bit. I only have a few more cards to go through. I have about, let's see, it looks like there's 4 more cards to go through, and then I will open your package. So I'm glad you're here, dude. I was really worried that I wasn't going to be able to have you in here to open the package, so I was just going to open it and then tell you about it later. But I am so happy you're here. I really appreciate that you sent me fan mail, and I'm glad that you're here. Work was hell. 2 hours overtime today. Oh, geez. Well, at least you're here now, Bo Falcon, so, you know, sit back, kick your feet up, and watch me talk about cards. And then I will open your mail very soon, okay? So Deadeye Tracker is one of the few Ixalan cards that made it into the cube. It's a foil. This guy is... It's hard to determine how strong he is. So, like, I feel like for 1 mana, it's very strong. But it also frequently happens that he doesn't always feel that great. Sometimes his ability... I've seen this guy plenty of times where he'll die before his ability gets to go off once. But the thing is, though, is that, like, he's a 1-drop for black that is relatively strong in the right kind of, you know, playstyle. So I like keeping him in. I really do. I don't really plan on removing him ever. He's just good. He's very good. But like I said, like, I can't really say that his ability does much a lot of the time. But, I mean, it's nice to get him out on the first turn and then find comfort that maybe you'll be able to get that ability off a couple times. So, feels better than a 1-mana 1/1 vanilla, you know what I mean? Oh, Pestilence. I like this enchantment a lot for the same reasons. It's like, it's very much like playing the Abyss and Nether Void. This card is pretty darn strong. I mean, I've had this card since the beginning of playing Magic the Gathering. It was given to me by... I actually have, I think 2 or 3 copies of this card. And this was given to me by the guy who taught me how to play Magic. It's very strong. It just simply hits everything with... you can pay black mana, and for each 1 black mana you pay, you can deal 1 damage to every creature and every player. But it also has the stipulation of saying that if there are no creatures on the battlefield... you must destroy this card. So it's very strong. Like, I mean, I've seen this card can sometimes be a board wipe. Like, you can bring it down for 4, and then you can immediately use it. So, like, I've seen people, like, I haven't done this, but I remember my friend one time put this out for 4, and then he paid 3 to wipe the board with 3 damage, and, like, also hit me for 3 and hit himself for 3. But the 3 damage he did to himself was, like, nothing, because he cleared the board. I mean, his creatures survived, if I remember correctly, and my creatures pretty much all died. And he also got to hit me for 3 as well. So it's... So, Bo Falcon, I actually do have Thrashing Wumpus, but it's not in my cube. I prefer Pestilence over Thrashing Wumpus. But one of the cards I went over earlier that you missed was I also have... Plague Spitter, which is kind of like Thrashing Wumpus and Pestilence. I actually think that Plague Spitter is better than Thrashing Wumpus, but I do own a Thrashing Wumpus, but it is not actually in my cube. I just never found it to be... Like, I kind of had to make a choice between Pestilence and Thrashing Wumpus, and I went with Pestilence. Oh, I do know of Charisma, so I know what you're talking about, Bo Falcon. I do not own Charisma, but I do own Thrashing Wumpus. I own 2 of them, if I remember correctly. But it just never really fit in the cube. I prefer Pestilence. Pestilence is also kind of harder to deal with. So this is what I was talking about earlier. This is Phyrexian Scriptures. I love this card. I love it for its power level. I love it for its flavor. I love everything about this card. It's spectacular. So this is, first of all, this card does so much. So first of all, it will make one of your creatures stronger than it was before. Then it'll be a board wipe, and then it removes whole graveyards from the game. I mean, for 4 mana, it's spectacularly, insanely powerful. I know that this card was not very well received. Like, not very many people played with it. Not very many people liked it very much. But I adore this card. It's strong enough for me, and it's strong enough for the cube. But what really makes me love it, first of all, there's a big old Phyrexian symbol right dead center in the middle of the text. I love that. The next thing is, I was talking about the flavor of this artwork earlier when I was looking at the Dark Ritual. So let me bring that up again, because I love that Dark Ritual. It makes me happy. Where did I put it? There it is. So you guys it might be a little tough to see, but if you look very, very closely, you might see the etchings on the metal slab of the Phyrexian scripture altar. So, hold on, let me kind of bring it back in to give it some focus. A little tough there, especially with the glare. So, yeah, there are all these little tiny etchings on the, like, it's basically the language of the Phyrexians. So, the sentences on here on the altar are in fact the flavor text right here on this card. So this flavor text is also in Phyrexian language on the metal slab here in the art. I don't have a Pyrohemia. Well, actually, maybe I do. I might have a Pyrohemia. I'm not sure. I'll have to go through my cards again. I don't think I have one, but I might. I'm just now realizing where I think I might, like where that card might be, but I'm not totally sure. I don't really have the time to pull it out, but I have a couple of dual decks, and I think there's these 2 dual decks that I owned, that I do own, that have crazy, crazy powerful cards in them. And I think Pyrohemia is one of the cards in one of those dual decks. So I'll have to check, but maybe I'll put it in. I mean, Pyrohemia is very strong. Like you said, it's just basically a red pestilence. But I don't know. I'll check. There were some other cards from those same dual decks that I have in this cube, and I was debating whether or not to put other ones in it. But I decided not to do that. For now. Maybe I'll look it over and think about it. But anyways, yeah, I love the altar here. I love everything Phyrexia. I am a Phyrexia fanboy. I actually want to eventually buy a mint unopened box of new Phyrexia. Like, I bought, I think 5 or 6 packs of new Phyrexia when it was in standard. But I didn't buy as much as I wanted to, because that was at a time where I was not really playing much Magic. But I do want to eventually own my own mint condition unopened box of new Phyrexia. Just because I love it. Literally just because I love it. Whether or not I'd open it is a different story. But I kind of want to have it just so I can have it. You know what I mean? Like, normally when I buy boxes of Magic cards, I usually always open them. But that's like something that would be special to me, and I would kind of prefer it to be like mint condition unopened. And I don't know, maybe someday I would open it. Who knows? We'll see. I'll think about it. It's something I really want to get into eventually. But yeah, I'm a Phyrexia fanboy. I love new Phyrexia and all Phyrexian things. The Saga set is very awesome in general. Many powerful cards, and yes, great art. Yeah, it's very true. Yeah, the Saga art is amazing. Most of the Saga arts are really good. Like, they were really well thought out. And it's also kind of cool because, like, the text, like, frequently lines up with each portion of the art. Like, the idea of reaching completion and then eliminating everything that is not completed, and then eliminating and feeding off of the blood and the corpses and things like that. It's very, very, very flavorful. I love this card. I love it. And I did open it in a booster pack too. All of the Dominaria cards I opened in booster packs. Oh, I love this one. Hippie. Classic Hypnotic Spectre. I think this is a revised copy, I think. Hypnotic Spectre is a fantastic card if you've never played with it. It's very, very strong. It's a 3 mana flying 2/2, and it says an opponent damaged by Spectre, old school, must discard a card at random from his or her hand. Ignore this effect if opponent has no cards left in hand. I think this is a revised copy because it has all the weird information in it that is totally unnecessary. But oh yeah, here, there you go. Douglas Schuler. There was no trace of aught on the illuminated face. Samuel Coleridge, Phantom. I do love my Hypnotic Spectre. This is another one of the cards that I have had since I was first playing Magic the Gathering. Didn't open it, but this is one of those, like I said, I was given a whole bunch when I first started playing Magic, and my friend at that time taught me how to play. He gave me a whole bunch of cards for free. This is one of the cards that, yeah, I thought it was revised. This is one of the cards that he gave me for free, and I've had it for a very long time. I love this card. I have so many memories attached to actually playing with it as a kid. I would never get rid of it, and it has, I think it's hard to see it, but let's see if it'll focus. It's got a bent corner. I think you can only just barely see it. Yeah, there's, like, I can see it in my vision. It's got like a seam right here. That corner is totally bent. But I love it, and it's got a lot of memories. I even remember when that corner got bent. Like, that's how long this card has been in my collection. It got bent when I was a kid, back in the days when I used to play with it, with no sleeves and no protection, and shit happens, you know? I think something was, like, sitting on top of it, like something was sitting on top of it, and the corner was bent back, and it was never the same after that. But, you know, like, that happened, like, when I was, like, in middle school, you know? I still remember that stuff. I love it. I love my hippie. It's the only hippie I own, but I love it. Sheoldred, the Whispering One. This is the Black Praetor. She is so brutal. Me and my friends kind of decided this is the third most powerful Praetor. Come on, focus. Here, let me bring it down, and then bring it back up. Come on, camera. I know you can do it. You've done it so many times before. It's having a lot of trouble with this one card. Oh, there it is. Okay. Swamp Walk. Oh, by the way, she is 7. Swamp Walk. At the beginning of your upkeep, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player sacrifices a creature. She is a 6/6. She is very strong. My friend has played her one time, and I killed her. And then I got to play her one time, and she died 2 turns later. Cards like this, like I said, like, the thing about this is that cards like this die very quickly. But she's very strong. She's a force to be reckoned with. I have gotten to force my opponent to... I've gotten my best friend to sacrifice 2 creatures off of her. I've had the chance to reanimate 1 creature off of her. And then she was dead. She doesn't last very long because she's a major threat. I love the Praetors. I like her a lot. She's great. Like I said, my favorite is always Lesh Norn, but I would say this is probably, when it comes to flavor and overall playability, this is probably my second favorite. Even though she's not the second most powerful, she's my second favorite. Very strong card. And our very last card, let's see if I can pick it up, is Living Death. This is obviously a reprint. I have 2 Mamadi Jins, one revised and one unlimited. I'll put them in Discord. Oh yeah, I have a Mamadi Jin from revised as well. Yeah, I love Mamadi Jin. I I have a revised Mamari Jin. I have a 9th edition Mamari Jin. And I have 2 iconic Masters Mamari Jins, and one of the iconic Master Mamari Jins is a foil. I love Mamari Jin, but it's sad because it's not really playable anymore. Even in the cube, it's pretty underpowered. I used to really like having the foil Mamari Jin in the cube, but it got to a point of where it was very underwhelming. It died really easily. With the kind of removal in this cube, it feels pretty terrible when you pay out for a Mamari Jin and then it dies next turn. Like with stuff like Sheoldred, like my point is that with cards like Sheoldred, when Sheoldred dies like the next turn, you don't feel bad about it because it's broken. Like you know that Sheoldred's going to win you a game, so like it makes sense that it would die the next turn. But like with Mamari Jin, like it's going to take some time for it to win. So, like, when it dies immediately the very next turn, like, it doesn't feel very good. Oh, yeah. So, anyways, let me get back to talking about Living Death. This card is so much fun, and it's so powerful. This is a great way to take advantage of, like, discarding cards and, sacrificing your own creatures. And there are some cards that do that. So this card is a massive reanimation spell. It just, I'm trying to get it to focus again. Come on. I think it focuses better when it's, like, close to the middle. There we are. Each player exiles all creature cards from his or her graveyard, then sacrifices all creatures he or she controls, then puts all cards he or she exiled this way onto the battlefield. So, yeah, this is just a massive reanimation spell that hits everybody. But it's very fun because you can stack your graveyard before you play it, and it also works like balance. Like, you purposely swing it in your favor. Like, you have to, like, set up your battlefield and your graveyard so that this card works more in your favor than it does in your opponent's favor. Fantastic card. I've only seen it actually work, like, I think twice. And I think the only 2 times I've ever seen it work was when my best friend was playing it. I don't think I've ever gotten this card to work before, but it's absolutely awesome when it goes off. It's crazy. So yeah, that's all the black cards. So you know what? Let's open some mail, guys. We got Bo Falcon in the house. We finished going through all the black cards. I'm gonna open up this package real quick. I got my trusty sharp knife here, my fancy mail opener, and I'm going to open up this package and we're going to see what Bo Falcon sent us. I'm so excited. I've actually been holding on to this for like 3 days because I didn't want to open it until I was streaming. But here we go. I finally get to find out what cool things Bo Falcon brought me. Alright, that guy is nice and open. Alright, let's see what we got here. Oh, cool. Alright, so Bo Falcon looks like... Okay. Ooh! Oh, these are old school token cards! Dude, I actually collect... Oh my god, I have to show you now. Well, I'll go through all the mail, and then I'll show you my old school tokens that I collect. Because it's like you read my mind, dude. Like, I actually do collect old school tokens, so this is really cool. Okay, so we have a insect token from, I believe that's, what set is that? That's, is that Odyssey? I feel like I should know what set that is, because I played during that set. Oh, it's all good, man. I appreciate it. So, I can't remember what set this is, but, I did play during that set, but this is so cool. I'll have to show you the other tokens. Oh, and a foil squirrel token. That's so cute. I love it. I don't know if I have any cards that make squirrel tokens, but that is still really cool. I love it. And then we got this box here. Let's go ahead and open this guy up. Let's see what this is all about. Oh, it's Onslaught. Thank you so much, Bo Falcon. I felt terrible that I couldn't remember that set name. I like this little plastic case, too, actually. This is cool. I'm probably going to use it, actually. Oh my god, is this a collector's pack? Oh, is it just a regular booster pack? That's so cool! Dude, I don't even care if it's not a collector's booster pack. So, I have not had any Throne of Eldraine at all. Wow. I don't own any Throne of Eldraine cards, dude. Oh, that's okay. I had to look at it a second time, but it's totally fine. I'm totally okay with I don't own any Throne of Eldraine, Bo, so just having this is amazing. If you want me to, I can also open it on stream. Do you want me to do that? I'd be down to open some Throne of Eldraine. I have no experience with it whatsoever. Oh God. What would be... Maybe I'll open it and I'll get an Oko. What do you think? Do you guys think I'll get an Oko in here? Maybe I'll get an Oko. I don't know. Oh my God. Are these full art cards? Celestial Purge. Oh my God. Sign in Blood. I love this card. I love Sign in Blood. I actually have a lot of this card and it's very good. And dude, these are so cool. What the hell, Bo Falcon? These are amazing. I don't even know where you get these. Hold on, let me see if it says 1993, 2010. Wow, these are old. Oh my God, these are so cool, Bo Falcon. Whoa, where did you even find these? So there's a Celestial Purge, and I love it. I love full art cards. I don't have very many of these. Oh my God, that's so awesome. And a Sign in Blood. I love Sign in Blood. I actually used to promo cards for my LGS I worked at years ago. Very cool. Thank you so much, Bo Falcon. This is so cool. I actually used to have a deck that ran 4 copies of Sign in Blood. This was a long time ago, but this card made such an impact on me in the past. I love it. I played it a lot when M10 was a big deal. 2 Smuggler's Copters in draft the day after it was banned. Well, hey, Smuggler's Copter's still really good, man. You might be able... I think did they ban it? Did they ban it in Pioneer? I don't know. If they haven't banned Smuggler's Copter in Pioneer, then you might be able to get some bucks off that if you don't want them. Treasure Hunt. This is actually a card that I have absolutely no experience with. I've heard that this is a very strong card, but I have never played with it before. I've never had the chance to. It was in a Zendikar set originally. I think it was like the 2nd or 3rd Zendikar set. And I played a ton of the 1st Zendikar set and a tiny bit of the 2nd set, but I didn't play the 3rd one at all, which is funny because that's the one where all the Eldrazi come from. But I never got this card before, so it might be kind of interesting to mess around with. Ooh, oh my God, the art is so cool on this. That's a Recollect with... I have a copy of Recollect, but this art is so cooler than the art that I have for mine. That's so awesome. I love this. Oh, and an Infest. Oh my God. That's so cool. I have copies of Infest from Alara, and I'm a big Alara fan. This is so cool. Dude, you outdid yourself, Bo Falcon. This is so awesome. Oh my God, and there's so many here. Remove Soul is a great card. I love the 2 like the 2 God, the art is amazing. That art is... Oh my God, so okay, I have to say this because this is absolutely spectacular. So the original printing of Remove Soul, for anybody who doesn't know, Remove Soul was originally printed in Legends. And the Legends art for Remove Soul has a scene of a man's chest being ripped open, like the skin on his chest is being ripped apart, and you can see his skull and like his bones and like his muscle tissue. So like the art on this Remove Soul is basically an updated version of the Legends art for Remove Soul, because you can see that his skin is peeling back and his soul is coming out through his skin being peeled back. That is amazing! That's so cool! Oh my God, I love that! Okay, so I'm going to be honest with you guys. I have never seen this card before. Tidings. I feel like I might have to look it up just so I know what it is, because I have never seen this card before. I'm going to quickly look it up really fast, simply because I have never seen this card before. Let's see what I got. Because I don't know what this card is. There it is, Tidings. 5 mana, draw 4 cards. That's awesome. How have I never seen this card before? This actually might be worthy to go in the cube. That's so cool. 5 mana, draw 4 cards. Oh man, that might actually, I might have to find a way to put this in the cube. It might be kind of tough because it doesn't have any text on it, but we'll see. I'll think about it. I've never seen this card before. I've never even heard of it before. But that is strong. Don't mess around with, like, so in in green in my cube, I have what's it called? The green 4-mana card that draws 3 cards. This is just basically like 1 card and 1 mana more than that card, and that card is worthy of being in the cube. So that's why I think this might actually have a place in the cube. We'll have to see. Hinder. That art is spectacular. Look at that. Whoa. Oh my god. This is so cool. I'm so into this right now. Hold on a second. I'm checking this card because I can't remember what it does. I feel like I've seen it before. Hinder. Counter target spell. If it's countered this way, put that card on the top or bottom of its owner's library instead of... That is so strong. That is cool. That's like... this card is like another... Because I was talking yesterday, well, not yesterday, I was talking 3 days ago about how, what's it called? I forgot the name of it. Memory lapse. I had a memory lapse about remembering memory lapse. I was talking about how memory lapse is like my favorite counterspell of all time. This is essentially another kind of memory lapse. It only costs 1 more than memory lapse, and you get to choose if it goes on the bottom or on the top. So, like, if it goes on the top, it works like a memory lapse. And if it goes on the bottom, it works like a cancel. I love it. That's so cool. In fact, actually, it's kind of better than a cancel because, in my opinion, when a card goes to the bottom of the library, it's gone. Like, you're not going to see it again. So that is so cool. Oh my god, a Gilded Lotus. So for anybody who doesn't know, I collect lotuses. Awesome. This is actually officially my 4th Gilded Lotus. So I own a Gilded Lotus from I think it's Darksteel. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Darksteel. So I own a Gilded Lotus from Darksteel. I own a Gilded Lotus from I think it's M10. I own a Gilded Lotus from Dominaria, which is also foil. And then I own now this Gilded Lotus. So I now own 4 Gilded Lotuses. I am a major fan of lotuses. I collect them. I actually, let me show you guys my favorite lotus, which I have right here. This is my favorite lotus. I own 3 of these, by the way. This is a Lotus Bloom. It's a foil. And it's the special edition that was painted by Christopher Rush himself. And it was for the pre-release of Time Spiral. I own 3 of these. My goal is to eventually own 5 of them total. But I love lotuses. I really do. They are, like, I do. So that's very cool. More for art inspiration. Maybe you might want to alter them for fun. Okay, cool. I like that. Door of Destinies. This is from, I think that's Morningtide. As Door of Destinies comes into play, choose a creature type. Whenever you play a spell of that type, put a charge counter on Door of Destinies. Creatures you control of that type get +1/+1 for each charge counter on Door of Destinies. Wow. That is a very strong card. I feel like I've seen this card, but I've never owned one. Wow, that is really strong. Sadly, I don't think I could put it into the cube because there's not very much synergy in creature types for my cube. It's a lot of randomness. but it's still a really powerful card. It might go into something. I don't know. We'll have to see. Um, Intruder Alarm. Creatures do not untap during their controller's untap phase. Whenever any creature comes into play, untap all creatures. Wow. This is probably going to go into the cube, actually. Bo Falcon, you've given me some cube fodder here, dude. So I actually might put this. This is a very high likely candidate to go into the cube right away. This is very, very crazy strong. Wowie zowie. Wow. This is like, it's like stasis, and it's right in that 3 converted mana cost sweet spot. Wow. I might play with that in the cube. Mind's Aglow. So I actually own one of these, and I love it. This is actually, like, because you said that they might be good for altering. This would probably be a card that I wouldn't mind altering. Because I actually do really, I own one of these, and I always have loved the art on this card. Very good in Commander. I wouldn't be able to put it in the cube, but it's a very good Commander card. And I think this is actually so far the first card I've seen that would be really fun to actually alter and make it look nice, because the art here is very, very interesting. I just remembered I have coffee and it's probably frigid right now, so I'm going to take a sip. That's some cold coffee. mm. Ooh, Rise. Ooh, a foil promo, Rise from the Grave. So I know exactly what this card does. This is actually, like, so I actually really like this card a lot. I remember when they first started printing it, and I thought it was a really well thought out, flavorful, like, powerful reanimation spell. And the thing that's the nicest about this spell is Rise from the Grave is actually very balanced. It is probably, in my opinion, the most balanced reanimation spell I've ever seen. It's expensive enough to not be broken, but it's also powerful enough to justify, like, its cost and what it does. And this is cool. I think this art is amazing. It's very obviously like a zombie that is like falling apart. It's foil too, which is very cool. This card is so cool, Bo. Thank you. Oh my god. I'll have to see if I can fit it into the cube. I do have other copies of Rise from the Grave, and I've never really put them into into the cube simply because of the cost. It's just a little expensive for the cube. For a reanimation spell, but we'll see. I might try to get it in there. We'll see. Oh, I know this card very well. Una's Blackguard. Oh my god. Una's Blackguard, 2 mana, 1/1 flyer. Each other rogue creature you control comes into play with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. Whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card. I know this card very well. This card is actually a staple for classic fairy decks that were going around during Lorwyn. Very, very awesome card. This is very strong. Let me see. Other rogue creatures. Okay, that's what I thought. That's interesting. I don't know if I'd be able to put it in the cube. I mean, maybe. It kind of depends. So this card synergizes with rogues, and it also synergizes with +1/+1 counters. So, which is interesting because even though it probably wouldn't do much for rogues because I don't really own any rogue cards in the cube, it might be able to get pretty strong with the fact that it synergizes with +1/+1 counters, because there are a lot of cards that deal with +1/+1 counters in my cube. So this is a maybe for the cube. I'm not totally sure yet, but it is beautiful. I love how the fairy looks. I love the gigantic like wings that it has. And I do know that this card is pretty infamous back in the days of Lorwyn. Very strong. A Woolly Thoktar. I remember this card. I remember when people thought that I remember when this card was spoiled because I played a lot in the Shards of Alara sets in Block, and I remember when everybody thought that like this card was crazy broken and it was going to destroy formats and everybody was going to play Nea because of this card. Um, I have some great memories with this card. One of my best friends a long, long time ago had a Nea deck, and it had like 4 copies of Woolly Thoktar in it. And my oh my, did they make an impact! They were a big freaking deal in that deck because it had all sorts of other crazy bonkers stuff in it too, but the Woolly Thoktar's definitely stood out. This one is beautiful too. I actually love the close up on its face. And it looks amazing with the foil. The foil is really good at making the teeth shine. Makes it really look intimidating. I love it. I know this one. This is Greenseeker. I don't even need to like translate it to know that this is Greenseeker. I used to play with this card. It's great. This card is a very good card from Time Spiral. It basically tutors up lands for you. It's very good. It's a spell shaper, so you have to discard cards for the purpose of searching for lands. But this card is great. I used to have a deck with like 4 of these in it. They're great. There are a surprising amount of rogues that you don't realize are rogues. Really? I'll look into it a little bit deeper. I don't think I have any rogues in my cube, though. But yeah, I remember this card very well because I used to play with it a lot. I had a deck that ran 4 copies of it. It's great. Oh my goodness. Oh man. Void Mage Prodigy. I remember this card pretty well. Sacrifice a wizard, counter target spell, and morph. 2 mana, 2/1. Wow, where to begin with this guy? This guy is so strong. This could also make it into the cube. Surprisingly, there's actually a lot of wizards in the cube. If you remember seeing my blue section, there were quite a few wizards. So this could probably make it in, and it could probably make a major impact. So ignoring the synergy that it has with other wizards, the worst possible case scenario for this guy, you can sacrifice himself to counter a spell, which is really, really strong. This guy's ridiculous. I remember him pretty well. A long time ago, so I used to have a wizard deck, and I used to have Patron Wizard in it, which is you could tap wizards that you controlled to counter a spell unless they pay 1 for each wizard that you tap down. And this guy was... I also owned a copy of this guy. I only owned 1, but I don't have him anymore, so it's kind of cool to see him again. But I never owned a foil before of this guy, and this guy's very, very strong, very cool. He actually has he's also another likely candidate to make it into the cube. Oh my god, a millstone? Oh, a millstone? Wow. This card's great. Memories. Oh my goodness. Oh jeez, this card. I had a deck. Now, see, I never played, I gotta admit, I never played a mill deck that ran millstones, but I did have a deck that ran millstones in it just to screw with people. It wasn't a mill deck. It never cared about milling, but it used millstones to throw people off, and it was so fun because, like, you would just, like, people would think you were trying to mill them, because I used to run 4 copies of this in this deck that I'm talking about, and people used to think that I was trying to desperately mill them, and I wasn't. I was just using it to throw them off guard, and they were losing their spells, and they would get really frustrated about it. It was so funny. Good memories with that one. That's great. Murmuring Bosk. I've never seen this one. As Murmuring Bosk comes into play, you may reveal a Treefolk card from your hand. If you don't, Murmuring Bosk comes into play tapped. Add white or black to your mana pool. Murmuring Bosk deals 1 damage. This card is so cool! Oh my god! I've never seen this card, and it's a forest. So, comes into play, reveal if you don't, comes into play tapped. This card is cool. I've never seen this card before. So it's a forest, so you can tutor for it. You do have the possibility of it coming into play tapped, but if you own Tree Folks, it comes in untapped, and it makes green mana and white mana and black mana. This card is beyond cool. I might actually put this in the cube. Like, there's room for more lands, so I mean, I might put this in the cube. This is so cool. I've never seen this card before. That's awesome. Vivid Meadow. This card is very cool. I have seen this. Vivid Meadow is it's like what's that card called? Gemstone Mine. It basically comes into play with 2 charge counters on it, and you can remove those charge counters to make mana of any color, but the land still makes white. So this is a great card. It's just, oh my god, you gave me a whole set of them. You gave me all of the Vivid cards? Oh my god, he did. Dude, I promise you these are going in the cube. No joke. These are all great cards. These are great lands that mana fix amazingly well. These are all, there's the white one, the black one, the green one, the blue one, and the red one. And they all make mana of any color until you run out of charge counters. These cards are fantastic, and they are absolutely going in this cube. I will make room for them. So making mana of any color is extremely important in the cube. Like, it's absolutely ridiculously important to how the cube functions. So, and I don't own any of these until now. So I'm going to put these in my cube, dude. These are awesome. So I will definitely put those in there. It's nice that they mana fix for anything I want. There was more stuff. So that's all the cards that came in the little dish here. I'm going to put them back in there. And I will go over them again later on my own time and figure out which ones are going into the cube and which ones are staying out of the cube. But they are going into my personal collection, and there is a good amount of them that will probably be in the cube. And I will probably show that off when I get the chance. Like, I'll definitely let you know, Bo, like, when we're on stream, and I'll show them off. I needed, like, most of those cards I don't have, Bo. Most of them I don't have, so that was really cool. There is some more stuff in here, so let me pull out some more stuff. Ooh, looks like that's kind of a secret. So I have a gift card here that I can claim within 30 days, and it's a $30 gift card for Cook Up a Fresh Start. Very cool. Wow. I'm probably going to use... Oh, what? Choose what looks delicious from our weekly menu. Let us shop and deliver all the pre-measured ingredients you'll need. You cook delicious meals in 30 minutes or... Very cool. Bo, you know me too well. Like, you know me too well, dude. I love you, man. So that's going to be really fun. I'm going to cook with that. That's going to be awesome. What else do we have in here? Oh, my goodness. Bo, you are a maniac. So, wow. Oh my goodness, Bo. He gave me a Visa gift card. Whoa. Whoa. I have no idea what I'm going to use this on. That's crazy. Okay. So I got a Visa gift card from Bo. Oh man, I'm trying to figure out, I might buy cards with it. There is some cards that I want to get, so maybe I'll use that. So I got a Visa gift card. There it is. There's no code on the front, so it's fine. I can show it off. It's for $25, so that's very cool. Dude, you outdid yourself for me, man. I appreciate it. And then, ooh. Oh my god, Bo. I was not expecting that. So first of all, he gave me a pack of standard size sleeves, and these are very high quality. I've actually seen these before. They will work with double sleeves, which is really nice. It looks like there's 80 in here, which is great. Extra high clearness, professional gameplay, playability, and lifetime. acid-free, no PVC, ideal fitting and size. So that is so cool. But the thing that totally caught me off guard that I didn't see until I picked this box up, and I love this. I absolutely adore this. And Bo has heard me talk about this before, so it makes sense that he did this. That is a Richard Garfield PhD card, which I love. I've always wanted one of these. It's been on my wish list in my Amazon for a long time, and I've wanted one for God only knows how long. This is so cool. I've always wanted this card. Wow, this is so cool. Oh my god. Dude, Bo, oh my god, you know all of my favorite things. Palladium Moors, the Ruiner. That's so awesome. That's so awesome, Bo. And it's a foil, and it's a stamped foil. Dude, you rock so much, man. Wow. Leave it to Bo Falcon to know that Palladium Moors is my dragon waifu. He even said it. She's my waifu. Wow. Yeah, Palladium Moors, for anybody who doesn't know, is my dragon waifu. She's the queen of all dragons. I love her to death. I now own three different copies of Palladium Moors, which is so cool. This is awesome. I actually do own an original Legends of Palladium Moors as well. She's just always been my favorite dragon. I've owned her. I have owned Palladium Moors since I was like a teenager. But one of my earliest memories of childhood of falling in love with Magic cards was because of Palladium Moors, the original Legends version, which I have. It's kind of like, I'll never forget going into a comic book store for the first time, and my friend showing me over to the glass case, and I was looking over all the Legends cards, and I thought they were really cool. But then I saw the original Legends version of Palladium Moors, and I was astounded by it, and I knew that I was hooked for life on Magic. This is so cool, though. Richard Garfield. I am so happy about that. I'm happy about both of these. These are so amazing. You may play cards as though they were other Magic cards of your choice with the same mana cost. Mana cost includes colors. You can't choose the same card twice. And the flavor text says, and yeah, wait a minute, what does that say? And yea he doth spake, let there be magic. That's so great. I love it. That's so cool, man. Oh man, oh my god, you were too much, Bo. I love you, man. You're awesome. I'm trying to put away my knife and I'm slamming things on the table here. So you know what? We're gonna wrap this up in just a few minutes, but before we do that, we're gonna open this pack of Eldraine. I have never opened a pack of Eldraine before, and I actually have not memorized any of the cards in Eldraine at all. So we're gonna see what happens. We're gonna run that Oko lottery and see if we get an Oko. And I do actually want to have an Oko in my cube. I decided against trying to buy it because it's gotten more expensive, but I kind of gave up on trying to buy it myself. So maybe we'll open one here. Oh, I love it, Bo Falcon. You rock, dude. Like this is a lot. Like it's amazing. So I don't know about you guys. I actually have a ritual with opening booster packs. So I'll show you my ritual. Slap once, slap twice. And now we crack it open. Let's see what we got. All right. Got a raging red cap. 3 mana 1/2 with double strike? That's way crazy. They make double strike cards common? That just weirds me out, man. I double striker for 3 mana at common is a 1/2? That's pretty awesome, actually. Then we have a Lonesome Unicorn, which has the adventure on it. Sorcery. Create a 2/2 white knight token with vigilance for 3. And the unicorn itself is a 3/3 with vigilance. Cool. Okay, cool. Witching Well. Okay, so this is one card from Eldraine that I know very well, and I think it's so cool. It's a 1-mana blue artifact. When it enters the battlefield, you may scry 2, and then you can tap 4 and sacrifice it to draw 2 cards. Sorry, I kind of had it out of frame there. This card's cool. I actually really like this. I think this is a really solid common card. The fact that it's a 1 blue artifact that draws cards and scries is very awesome. 7 Dwarves. 7 Dwarves gets +1/+1 for each other creature named 7 Dwarves you control. A deck can have up to 7 cards named 7 Dwarves. That's cute. Festive Funeral. Target creature gets -X/-X until end of turn, where X is the number of cards in your graveyard. That's not bad. That's an alright piece of removal. Especially because, like, I mean, it's expensive, but, like, at the same time, it's -X ability. And it's also based on graveyards, so, like, you should hopefully have, like, enough cards in your graveyard by the time you get to that point. The Curious Pair. Adventure, sorcery, 1 mana. Treats to share. Create a food token. And then it's just a 2 mana 1/3, which is not bad. I like the flavor of it. I like the Hansel and Gretel setup on it. It's very cool. Okay, Lost Legion. 3 mana, Spirit Knight. When Lost Legion enters the battlefield, scry 2. Ooh, scry 2 on a black creature. I like that. That's cool. That's a cool card. I actually really like that. Very useful. Knight of the Keep, a 3 mana 3/2 vanilla. Meh. Meh. That's alright. Wicked Guardian, Human Noble. When Wicked Guardian enters the battlefield, you may have it deal 2 damage to another creature you control. If you do, draw a card. 4 mana 4/2 that can draw cards sometimes. That's not bad. That's alright. 4 mana for 4 power and a free draw. That's not bad. I mean, the 2 damage, but, like, you know. He has toilet seats glued to him. Let me see. Let's see. Oh, you're right, he does! Look at all those toilet seats. I don't know what they were thinking about that. We'll call him, Knight of the Toilet. Knight of the... I wish there was a word that worked with that for toilets. Alright, what do we got next? Prophet of the Peak. It's an artifact creature cat. When Prophet of the Peak enters the battlefield, scry 2. He's a 5/5 for 6 that scries 2. There seems to be a lot of scrying in here, which kind of surprises me. I didn't know that scry was this major mechanic for Throne of Eldraine. That's kind of interesting. I mean, it seems alright. 6 mana for a 5/5 and it scries 2. That's alright. It's alright. Now we're into the uncommons. Shambling Suit. Shambling Suit's power is equal to the number of artifacts and or enchantments you control. Okay, so at its worst, it's a 3 mana 1/3. Okay, I mean, it's alright. It's alright. The flavor is off the handle, though. It's cool. It's like literally a walking suit of armor. That's cool. All That Glitters. I've heard a lot of people talk about this card. Enchant Creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact and or enchantment you control. So this card seems pretty strong. I've heard a couple people kind of compare it to, what's it called? I've heard people try to compare it to, what's that card called? I can't think of the name. It's the notoriously famous artifact from Mirrodin that moves at instant speed and gives power equal to artifacts you control. The name, and it's in my cube, it's just the name slipped my mind all of a sudden. Keep wanting to say Skull Clamp. Cranial Plating. Porcelain Throne. I like that. Knight of the Throne. There you go. Knight of the... I hope they keep holding it in. You guys are great. I love it. I've heard people try to compare this to cranial plating, and I really don't think it holds a candle at all to cranial plating, but it seems pretty strong. I mean, it's always the classic saying of, like, Ancestral Mask. Ancestral Mask... I don't remember what that card does. Is that the one? I keep thinking that it's a card that draws you cards. Does that sound about right? Um, yeah, that was what I was about to say, is that the bad side of all that glitters is that if you put it on something and then somebody, like, Doomblades it or whatever, you just lost 2 cards. You got 2 for 1. So, I mean, and the thing is cranial plating doesn't care about 2 for 1. Like, cranial plating's like suck a dick 2 for 1. Ferocity of the Wilds. Attacking non-human creatures control get +1/+0 and have trample. That's... Oh, it's an enchantment! So I thought this was a sorcery, and I was like, this card's kind of terrible. But then I realized it's an enchantment, so it just continues on. All right, I mean, you're running your human tribal, sure. Oh wait, non-human. So, wow, that actually seems really strong now that I realize it says non-human. Yeah, that's that can be pretty nasty. Get that out for 3, and you're pretty ahead with most creatures you play with. That's not bad. I like that. Happily Ever After is our rare. It's an enchantment for 3 mana. When Happily Ever After enters the battlefield, each player gains 5 life and draws a card. At the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 5 colors among permanents you control, there are 6 or more card types among permanents you control, and or cards in your graveyard, and your life total is greater than or equal to your starting life total, you win the game. Okay, hold on. I gotta read that again. Beginning of your upkeep, okay. 5 color. Oh, so it's one or the other or the other. It's not all 3 of them. 5 colors among permanents you control. So you have to have 5 colors of cards in play. Or there are 6 or more card types in play. Or cards in your graveyard. Oh, what? Okay. Or cards in your graveyard. Okay, so there are 5 colors among permanents you control. So permanents you control, there are. I'm trying to figure out, like, where it's stopping. Okay, hold on a second. 5 colors among permanents you control, comma, there are 6 or more card types among permanents you control, and, or, cards in your graveyard, and your life total is greater than or equal to your starting life total, you win the game. This card is a mouthful. I think I understand what it's trying to do, but I don't think... It seems really complicated for what it's doing. 5 colors, permanents you control, comma, there are 6 or more. So you have to have both of the first 2. Okay, so it's either you have the first 2 or cards in your graveyard. You do need all of it to win. That is so... I don't think I like this card, guys. I don't think this is a very good card. There's so much going on, and I don't like any of it. I mean, it gains me 5 life and draws a card. That's kind of cool, I guess. Alright, I'm done with that. And we got a basic forest. And we got On an Adventure token. That's kind of cool. Alright. Alright, I'm happy. This was great, guys. This was a lot of fun. Not really into that rare card, but yeah. But that's okay. I had a lot of fun opening it, so that's all I really care about. That was great. Wow. Well, that was a lot of fun, guys. And Bo Falcon, thank you so much, dude. I am so amazed by how much I got here. It's amazing. I feel like it's my birthday. Yeah, I mean, whatever. It's all good. Alright, guys. Well, I'm going to wrap this up, and then after I wrap this up, I'm going to go hang out with Mike Hatcher, because that's what I like to do. So I'm going to say all my normal stuff. Thank you all so much for being here. If you're not already subscribed, please do so. Please hit that notification bell. In the description below, there is information to my Discord, and my Discord's the same name, so please join it if you can. If you would like to donate or also pay for a piece of artwork that I've done, please look into my PayPal. Also, I have my DeviantArt profile in there, so if you want to take a look at my art, that's also an option. And I also have a mailing address to a P.O. box down in the description below. So if you want to be an amazing person like Mr. Bo Falcon here and send me fan mail, then please send that fan mail to the address below in the description. Thank you so much, guys. I had a wonderful time. This stream went on for 3 hours, which blows my mind. I was not expecting it to go on for 3 hours, but it did. So I will see you all later, and I'll probably see a lot of you in my Catcher stream. So, bye, guys. I had a great time. See